What is up, Moody? What is good?
Nothing, nothing much. Big chilling over here, preparing for the holidays.
Yeah. What plans you got?
Probably gonna end up going down to South Carolina to see her family since, we wasn't able to. Usually Thanksgiving is their holiday, but since we didn't make it down there this time, we traded, flipped the holidays this year. So,
Okay. You gonna be there until New Year's?
oh, hell no, I can't take my in-laws like that. Man, I remember they came to visit, like when she told me that they was coming to visit when we was out there in Seattle. And I was like, oh, okay, how long do they stand? A week? And she said 2 weeks. I was like, 2 weeks? Like 2 weeks is that's a prison sentence. So
2 weeks
like
for
at the
anybody
most,
is a long time.
yeah, I would give that like a 2 weekend vacation, like in any country. You'd be like, oh yeah, that's a long ass vacation.
Yeah,
Bruh. It's like 3 days at the most, for sure.
that's crazy. But hey, it's the
Yeah.
holidays. You only have to do it at minimum like once a year. So
Yeah. What was you up to this week?
nothing much. Nothing much. It's been a pretty chill week. So it's been light on the movie calendar, but I finally like filled up pretty much my December schedule.
Hmm.
I watched Y2K. I don't know if you've seen that trailer.
Nah.
It's a A24 film. It's like a teen horror
Okay.
apocalypse comedy where it's basically it's if Y2K actually happened,
Hmm.
and in this scenario basically like all of the machines basically like start to work together, and they have
Yeah, I mean that
this hive mind, and they basically start to kill humans because we're too stupid.
Yeah, I would say that was like the hysteria of Y2K. I remember that like everybody was just equating it to Skynet, going online. They were like, that's what Y2K is basically.
Yeah. Or that, or we'll just get reversed back to the Stone Ages, because it's honestly the I'm not gonna get into it, but the stuff behind like Y2K and like what was happening, especially because we were kids when it was happening. So like we
Yeah.
weren't too aware of what was going on. But you know, there's a lot of documentaries coming out right now, and a lot of content related to Y2K coming out right now, and it's a lot of it could have been solved if people just listened back to, like, this one dude in the '80s who brought up the problem. But they were like,
Yeah.
it was like 1985. It was like, "Man, year 2000 is way too far out, man. You thinking way too far in the future." And so, glad it worked out. But, let's get into these Percy's, Sunday Percy's.
Yeah. Mine is quite light because I was, per usual, always struggling with it. But I was like, okay, what was I engaged with? And it's just my winter watches. Like at least so far, we had the debut of Star Wars Skeleton Crew and DC's Creature Commandos. It's the first entry into James Gunn's DC universe. So I've watched the first two episodes of both of those, and I'm down. So I will be watching those throughout my
Yeah.
holidays.
I don't know much about the DC Commando crew. What is it called?
Creature Commandos, yeah.
Creature Commandos. I feel like I remember seeing that when, like, the James Gunn DC content calendar was like first
Hmm.
announced. Um, I'm not sure. Is that? I guess that's official. Official. That's main canon.
Yeah, I believe so. In the
Because
first
like there's
episode,
like
it's
the
they're
Dark
basically
World.
Suicide Squad.
Well, I'm just saying.
Say,
Well, like there's like the Batman movies and the Joker movies. They don't really count as
yeah,
far as
yeah.
DC
Yeah, these
main
are
canon.
these are his canon. Yeah, I got you. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are
Even
Elseworld,
Blue
and these
Beetle,
are
like Blue Beetle, technically. And even Aquaman, the second Aquaman movie, like, technically, they're both connected to the, new James Gunn DCU, but,
mhm.
um, I don't know if they're official. So if that's official, that's cool. And I haven't watched anything about Skeleton Crew, but I've heard people talk about it, and I've heard really good things about it. So they said It's one of their better Star Wars television projects that they put out in a while. So I haven't watched any of it, but I'll check it out.
Yeah, I mean, we had this conversation with the Acolyte where, I'm one of those fans. I'm just gonna watch it regardless because I'm that deep in on Star Wars. But for sure, after I was listening to, I think it was The Watch. It was one of the, you know, TV pods that we'd be listening to, mostly you. But yeah, they were just saying how it like really captures like the commitment, like where Acolyte, it didn't feel like Disney felt committed to the story they were trying to tell. This
Mhm.
feels like, okay, we're all in, literally from like episode one, kind of. It like really captures the wonder of kids and stuff like that. So it felt good coming out
Okay.
of the first two episodes at least. But
Okay.
yeah, that's my
Uh,
Percy. What you got?
yeah. Well, I'll add one thing to your Percy. I meant to bring this up last week, but I forgot. But you've been pushing me to watch Industry. Um, I am like 7 episodes in
Mm,
the first season. It's a pretty good show. Pretty good show. I'm kind of casually watching it, so I'll say I'm casually watching it in because I personally couldn't care less about any of their personal lives.
mm.
That is the
Yeah.
list. That is the least interesting part of the
Yeah.
show. Is anything that has to do with them flirting, relationships, all of that stuff that has nothing to do with the actual like work. I'm like, I get it. It's a TV show. Like you kind of have to make things that get people interested, but that is just the thing that doesn't interest me at all whatsoever. The business part actually is interesting. So, and I think there are some, and then even with some of the characters, like really the only characters that I really care about is the black girl. I forget her name.
Harper.
The one that's
Yeah.
kind of like, yeah, she's kind of like faking it till she makes it, which I
Yeah.
think that's an interesting storyline. And then it's funny. I always call this guy Juntao, even though he was never Juntao. He
Eric.
was,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I know exactly. That's what I said too. I was like, man, this dude, he's had a career though. Like, and then seeing him in this, I'm like, yo, Eric. Yeah, that's his name in that. Eric is fucking killer. I like Eric too.
yeah, yeah. No, that's the most interesting. Everything else, I'm like, yeah, the personal life, because I'm like, okay, this is kind of like because you could take it from the business aspect, but I'm like, okay, someone that used to be in like the advertising world, I'm like, okay, this is kind of like Mad Men. As far as like
Hmm.
the personal lives, it's like, okay, this is typical of any office job. So that doesn't really excite me or get me enthused. I'm like, yeah, I've lived that life before. The business aspect and like the things that when it goes on to the actual transactions and the things that they're doing,
Hmm.
I'm like, that's the more engaging thing for me. So I'm hoping that we get a little bit more of that and less of their personal lives.
Yeah, remember I gave you the general synopsis was sex, drugs, and investment banking. Because I
Yeah.
mean they are in their 20s, so yeah, there's gonna be a decent amount of like just all that in there. But yeah, it's that moment like in the end of episode one when she closes her first deal, and then Eric sees the look on her face, and he's like, "Remember this. You're a killer. Keep doing this shit." And it was like, yeah, that stuff is fascinating
Yeah.
because they don't hold your hand
Yeah.
through all that transaction shit. It's just like it's either good or bad, and you just got to work off the characters' reactions, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I think from the first season so far, what really I liked was it was like a back to back episode where she gambled and tried to like get more money on a deal, but then ended up crashing at like the last second, and she started ended up like 140K in the hole,
Hmm. Yeah,
and then she tried to
that
have
shit
this
was
whole
crazy.
conversation. Yeah, she tried to have her whole conversation with her boss, and then he was like, "Yo, I covered that like 30
Yeah.
minutes ago." And like you're like, "Oh, okay." Like he's looking out for her. He finds out that like her background ain't all up on the up and up. And then the very
Hmm.
next episode, because the black dude from Alien Romulus answered the phone and messed something up. I forget exactly what he messed up, but like he ended up losing money and then cussing old girl out. I was like, and having her tears and shit. I was like, it's an interesting, split on like how
Hmm.
one episode you got, oh look, they're building a relationship, and then the next episode he just tore a new one and like leaving her crying in the office and just
Yeah.
leaving work after that. So that's what I kind of hope for, that we get more. And I'm not sure what the overall point of the show is other than just being a fly in the wall of these people.
Yeah. Well, just to go to that point, me and my buddy that we finished all the way through season three, and we are like, all right, but what's the aim here? Because like really by the time like we get to the end of season 3, I was just like, this feels like almost like a revolving door. Like you could just keep this show going for like 8 seasons.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's
That's
no,
what I said, like, I don't know if
it's
there's
just
a
the
point. I
people
think
in
it's more of a
Pierpoint.
it's like yeah, it's like a lifestyle show. It's kind of like you
Yeah.
take Entourage and mix it with Mad Men,
Mhm.
and
I never
you
watched
kinda
Mad
get
Men, but I know it's the high intensity show everybody was always
well, like,
talking
Mad
about.
Men has a lot of the, like, personal relationship things that industry kind of does, but I think and the relationship stuff is not bad, but I think it's a little bit more connected to the work,
Mhm.
right? Like, I think Mad Men, they started off with some of the advertising campaigns and things of that nature and showing them work. And then eventually it got a little bit away from that. But a lot of the even the relationships that they would have, like you can see how it impacts their day-to-day lives at work rather than just them being 20-year-olds living in New York or
Mhm.
London and just being like, "Oh yeah, like this is what 20-year-olds do." And like, yeah, I'm like, "Okay, like for people that are not used to that, sure, it's engaging, it's enticing. But for me that live that, I'm like, okay, yeah,
He
I'm
said
more
this shit
here
is
for the
light.
business.
I was yeah, he was like, I was on the streets in Brooklyn. Like, I know this shit.
Yeah, like I get how this things works. It's not that interesting to me. But nonetheless, it's a good show. I am enjoying it. I'm gonna continue on. Like I said, I'm like almost. I think I'm on episode 7 or 8 of the first season, so I'm almost done with the first season. So
Nice.
you can get off my back.
Perfect. I ain't asked you in a while, so
My Percy is TV. It's movie related actually, but so this past week on one of the podcasts that I listen to, Cinephobe, um, they did Home Alone 2, Lost in New York as the movie for this week. And as they started the podcast opening, they were going through all the people that are in the movie. They were like, and Joe Pesci. And then they played this song, and I'm gonna play a little bit of it. I don't know if you took the time to listen to it before, um,
Mhm.
but
I did not. I
I've never
wanted you
heard
to
this.
explain it.
But it's hilarious. I was just like a meme. I was like, "What is that?" I didn't know
Yeah.
what it was. I'm like, "What is this? Is this AI? Is this like something?" And I had to stop the podcast and I had to bring it up and I had to look it up. I put the video in there. It's a full 3-minute video in 240p. This video was uploaded like 14 years ago, so this is legit, and it's
Yeah.
legit. It is Vincent Guardia LaGuardia Gambini rapping. He has a whole album, and it's just like, what? This is
An
what?
album is crazy. An album is crazy. But I will say just immediately because I didn't watch the video, but as you're playing it and like just seeing the clip of it in the Notion, I see E-Bomb's World in the bottom right corner, and I was like,
Yeah,
"What the hell?" So it's like I knew this was like from back in the day for sure. It's legit, yeah. Seeing the E-Bombs
I
World tag,
couldn't
I even
believe
know the
I
last time I even been to E-Bombs World. It's,
I could not believe when I heard. I'm like, what is this? What am I listening to? And I had to
that
look it
is
up, and
wild.
it was like, this is a real thing. This is a real thing, and it's funny because the hook is, um, "Lovely day in the neighborhood. It's a lovely day in the neighborhood for a drive by," and it's just like, maybe I'm like,
It's what the
I don't
internet's
think
for,
I
to
don't
be
think
this time
mobsters
capsule back then, you know? Like, I
I don't
didn't know
think
this existed.
mobsters
That's
do
wild.
drive-bys, though. I don't think mobsters do drive-bys. He
They
even
did
says
back with
he
the
even
Tommy guns
he even
back in
has
the
a
day, maybe.
he even has a line in the verse that, like, "We don't do drive-bys." So you can tell, like, a black person wrote this, and then he just rapped over it. But
Yo,
that
I'm
was
glad it
just, like, the
exists.
most startling thing that I've ever seen that, like, I've heard. I just could not expect it. That, like, I'm like, "What is this?" This has
Now I
gotta
gotta
be like
look.
a Mad TV skit or something. It's
Now I gotta
legit.
rewatch Goodfellas in my mind, just thinking he's working on his album this whole time.
Oh
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like he's just been in the booth, and every scene you don't see him in, he's in the booth. Like that's what it is.
Turn my
Oh, that's a
levels
good
up.
one. Exactly.
yo,
Hey, turn my headphones up. Yeah. More.
yo, so definitely check out the video afterwards. But
Yeah.
it's a crazy thing to watch, and I'm like, this is wild.
Yeah. No, it's nuts.
But that's my Percy. Anything to say before we get started?
No, let's go.
Doors opening. Step back to allow customers to exit.
Out. Samson, Habashah Hayes. I'm here with my tag team partner.
French fried fro, Moody, off the top rope. This is the Wrestling Re-Up podcast.
A weekly stroll through the avenue of wrestling.
Follow us on socials, Blue Sky, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and send us an email at thewrestlingre@gmail.com.
Yep. Episode 22 of the Wrestling Re-Up podcast. Welcome, everyone. And thank you for anybody that joins in live on YouTube at the Wrestling Re-Up. Or if you pick up this podcast on the audio tip through Spotify or Apple iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast, we're everywhere. Leave a review, subscribe, comment, do all the stuff that gets us noticed and engaged with. And engage with us, as Moody said, whether it be through Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, email, we'll figure it out. But yeah, episode 22. We're finally in December. Well, I guess, yeah, this is the first week of December. Finally in December, last month of wrestling of 2024. And it is a pretty interesting week, I have to say. It was a pretty good week. Pretty good week of wrestling. But let's start off with what happened last week at last week's pop-up show at Survivor Series WarGames. And I have to start off and I have to say, like, I don't remember your reasoning behind picking the new bloodline over the OG. I didn't go back and listen to the podcast, and I'm like, did we like not have enough time to go over
No.
it because we were trying to reach? Because I feel like you just basically gave me the win after you saw me pick the heels in the other war games, and I'm like, bro, take the win, take the win. So
Yeah, but I was right about that.
What was your reasoning to picking the new bloodline other than giving me the win, giving me the tie?
It was still me I didn't factor in the CM Punk chip of it still. Like that was because that happened literally just the day before, where I'm like thinking it's still, or not thinking that it's Seth, but because obviously CM Punk did say that he was going to be the partner, but I was just maintaining the heat of the new bloodline because I was like, you don't want to take wind out of their sails. And my point in picking them was he's doing them a solid anyway. Like whether they win or lose, that's not CM Punk's problem.
Yeah.
He's just being the fifth man. So that was the crux of it. That I was like, hey, CM Punk will take that L and be pissed off, but not really, because he'll still have a ace in the hole with Paul Heyman for that favor.
Like, I helped you out. My agreement was I helped you out. No, we didn't have to be. You had to win.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. So
true.
Like I was just like, I figured because I know last week I was like, well, you got Rhea and Bianca on a team. They could literally win that match by themselves. But I still ended up picking against them. And I'm like, all right, maybe this dude was like, in his mind, he was like, man, this dude Samson just does not want the win. And I don't want to be up here running up the record score. And I'm like, bro, just run up the record score if you want to run up the record score.
Nah. That was a true pick. That was a real pick.
Okay, as long as it was a real pick and you had some rationale. I was just like, I didn't go back to listen to see what you said, but I'm like, I got a feeling this man just knew that after I had picked the heels to win the women's War Games match that he was like, man, he just don't want this.
Nah. I definitely still had them going over. It was just that the CM Punk, I figured that was going to be a story note in the future, which it definitely will be. But ended in a tie.
Yep.
Undesirable, like kissing your cousin, like they say in football or basketball, it's like kissing your cousin. Don't want to do that. We can look forward towards next pay-per-view cycle get another
Yeah,
W on the board.
we got to talk about how we're gonna treat Saturday night's main event because that card is pretty much a PLE card at this point. We have 4 title matches on top
Yeah,
of an IC Women's Champion being crowned, US
yeah.
Champion being crowned. So
Let me
there's
bring
pretty
up the
much
schedule of events again.
5 title matches on that Saturday night's main event. But before we get too far into that, like, what were your thoughts overall on Survivor Series War Games?
I mean, like a. I mean, we both went 4-1. Like this was a very predictable show. If
Yeah.
anything, everything happens the way that you would expect it to, except
Even the ones
for
that we
for
got
me with
wrong,
the
is like
even the
we
ones
just
we got
second guessed
wrong. Yeah,
ourselves. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So because the one that I felt like most up in the air about was really just Shinsuke and LA Knight because they've always been shaky with Shinsuke. But I'm glad that
Mhm.
he came away with the title. So I would think honestly, just because, yeah, I'll say this, it would be a 3-star, but just because Shinsuke actually won the title, I'll knock it up to 3.5 because he's my guy.
I think that's fair. I mean, you got some quality matches. The Braun Breaker, Sheamus, Ludwig was good. Gunther and Priest was good. The ending is the ending. It wasn't terrible, but it's a little repetitive.
Yeah,
The War Games matches were pretty good. I liked both of them. I thought the Judgment Day War Games match was. They made a good point on this on the Masked Man show where it felt that it wasn't really OG Bloodline versus New Bloodline was the main story. It was, can Punk and Roman coexist?
yeah,
And so um it did kind of deflate a little bit of the new Bloodline. Not for me necessarily, but I can see in like the bigger picture, it's like you see Solo just basically take 5 finishers consecutively. It's like, okay, like guess they're not as dominant anymore.
yeah,
Or
exactly. When the leader goes down, you're like, damn.
yeah, especially in that fashion. But I mean, to see someone like Bronson Reed jump off the top of the cage like that, and then unfortunately shattering his foot. Jey Uso broke his toe.
Or Jimmy,
Uh,
Jimmy broke his toe. I'm
he
pretty
broke
sure.
his toe. Tongaloa, uh, torn tricep. So like
Yeah,
they all
or
got
tricep. Yeah, yeah, he got
yeah
fucked
they
up in that match. Yeah.
all got messed up. But it was a fun show. It was a fun show overall. How did you feel about the lack of a end of show surprise that I guess some people were expecting?
Uh, I felt full. I mean, I wasn't even. I guess, I mean, just as fans, we overbook things ourselves. Like you want things to happen that aren't necessarily, I guess necessary.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said necessarily necessary. That's I feel like that's redundant as hell. But yeah, I was fine with it. Honestly, I didn't need anything else, so that wasn't even on my mind as the show ended.
Yeah, it was I think it was the way they shot it and how they like stretched out every minute of the show
Mm,
to show them
yeah,
like get out of the cage, walk down the ramp and then get to the entrance. It's like, is somebody's music going to go off?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
like
just
I
when you
think
catch
that's
the
what it was.
entire after effects, it's like, all right, after you get the W, you can put up like, they all put the ones up. That's when you would see the
Yeah,
logo.
you're
And
just
it's like,
still
all right,
waiting
that's
for the
clean.
Paul Levesque and whoever the other person is as the executive producers tag to come up of the show, and like, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
But even last year, like they had the whole WWE production graphic come up, and then CM Punk's music went
And
off.
then yeah. Well,
So
that's
it's
true.
like
But that's always
you
been
had
our like signal. Like as long as we've been growing up, just that little tag has been like, okay,
yeah
that's the end. So it's like when they go past that, that's even something like more like, oh shit, like what happened?
yeah. So I guess they knew how to play the anticipation card on that pretty well. But that was Survivor Series War Games, the last official PLE of the 2024 calendar year.
Yep,
Any
indeed.
final thoughts before we move forward?
No, no, no. Let's. Well, the bloodline get their get back, but we're gonna talk about that. That's what I
Yeah,
was gonna say.
we'll talk about that.
Yep. Mhm.
Let's get on to Monday, and before we get into the flagship store, there was some pretty happy, encouraging news that came out directly from Maria Kanellis Bennett, former WWE uh, superstar legend. Think she's currently with AEW at the moment. She announced that she is cancer free and she had a tumor that was removed. That initially that so I had to like remember when I was looking this up because I was like, you're cancer free, but then in her statement she was like, it was non cancerous. So I'm like, okay, I guess they found a
Oh,
tumor and
it was
they
benign?
yeah,
Yeah.
and it was like they did the test to see if it was cancerous or not, and it came out to be it wasn't cancerous. Then they had the tumor removed. So either way, she's good at this point. So just wanted to shout out Maria. She was always dope at WWE, like I think, she had a mix of like obviously attractiveness. She was a Divas Talent Search woman, I believe.
Mm,
One of the
mhm.
first ones, and then, but I think she had a she's a definitely someone to like consider within like, WWE women's, I guess, lore and legacy, I think, as someone to think about. Not obviously like as a wrestler, but I do think there were certain things within the show that I'm like, yeah, like Maria is and her husband, they both are, mainstays in the wrestling industry. So it's good to see that she's doing well and that she's healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, whether it's benign or malignant, just get the tumor out. Like nobody wants to hear
Yeah.
a tumor like anywhere. So congratulations to her. Get
Yeah,
well sooner, even better. Get back to 100% even sooner than you are right now.
for sure. Let's get into this flagship show.
Absolutely.
Raw recap. In my opinion, this is the best show that they've had in quite a long time.
Yeah, I think that's more than fair to say because I mean we just came out a bunch of taped episodes, through like Thanksgiving and stuff like that. So yeah, with this actually being another live episode or real time episode, it feels good. And I think Triple H is very aware of that, like in the taping schedules, that he's like, all right, yeah, let's give them something juicy. We're bringing back Saturday night's main event. Let's get the show on the road, type of shit. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
agree.
wasn't even. I didn't
It's
even
one of
know
the
this
best
was a
shows.
live episode. I didn't even know this was a live episode.
Mhm.
Um, because I think they just removed the tag from the corner of the screen. I'm not sure.
Mm.
I feel like they've removed the tag, the live tag from the corner of the screen
Oh
just so
yeah.
they can just avoid the debate. And I'm like, the whole point of wrestling is supposed to be live, or at least from the WWE perspective, is like it's supposed to be live. But either way, I think this is because we talked about this before back in like September, November-ish time, where it's like, man, this feels like the dog days, the
Mhm.
summer dog days of wrestling. This feels like the fall dog days of wrestling because you had football, you had baseball, you had all the election coverage, all those
Mhm.
things going on. It's like it felt like we were kind of dragging our feet. This is the first time I feel like ever that this felt like the kickoff to WrestleMania.
Mm.
Like usually that starts in January. It felt like tonight, this Monday Night Raw was the beginning to the road of WrestleMania. That's how I read this show. But let's get into what we like the most. Do we I guess we could start
It's
off with the biggest
it's
news
not
of the
even
day.
close. It's not even close. For the whole week, it's not even fucking close. The New Day segment, the 10-year anniversary, the guys coming out separately, but like long story short, because we don't got to get in detail by detail. This is also part of this is my champion of the week. That's by far the best thing that happened in wrestling the whole week. But Kofi and Woods, we've been building to this breakup for them. But Big E says, no, I'm gonna remind you who you are. And they ain't feeling it. And they kick him out of the New Day. Like done so expertly. Like I know you actually said that last week that you were saying like maybe they would turn heel on him
Mhm.
this Monday. And definitely a possibility for sure, but like I don't know. I don't know if it's just a matter of execution. Like I said, I don't want to say too much because it's really there's one line from this that really got to me. And that was my champion of the week. But yeah, give it to me. Give it to me.
Yeah, I mean, well, you have this as your top shelf.
Yes, it is. It's one of the best. I realize I can define top shelf, or I've defined it as like of the year. Like you're at least nominated for like of the year. Like this is nominated segment of the year for sure
Yeah,
in all of
yeah.
wrestling. So that doesn't even that
I,
definitely clears that bar.
yeah, I have this in Primo. And I think the Primo, it's definitely a top shelf contender. I think when we think about like our top segments or moments of the year, like this is definitely going to
Mhm.
be in consideration for me, even though I have this in Primo. It's honestly, it's pretty much a top shelf. I think the reason I have it in Primo is because I'm going to pat myself on the back. I was right. I was right for months. I said, yo, is Xavier the bad guy here? I think I've been saying that for months. I said that it doesn't make sense for them to break up, you know, and I think they've obviously been making Xavier look extra heelish, but I think what they did was is is what I said last week. If they went this direction, this would have been this would have been the better approach in my opinion, because the New Day is one of the hardest things you could do, especially with a team like the New Day. And it's not just the New Day, it's just anybody that is just like so over as a face, is to turn them heel.
Rey Mysterio, we've never seen it.
Rey
Heel Rey
Mysterio,
Mysterio.
John Cena, you know what I'm saying? Like Bianca, even if she ever gets to that point, it's like, it's easy to like, oh yeah, just turn them heel. Okay, but like, good luck getting those people to stop cheering them.
To, exactly. You got to tell the story to turn them heel.
And so I think I'm a little ahead where I was last week, where I'm like, Biggie is going to join them and say, like, it's a new day. Yes, it is, and it's gonna be like a heel faction. I still think
Mhm.
we can get to that point, because Xavier told him, was like, we'll call you when we need you. And some of the things that they said to E was, it almost basically is like, if you want to, the way I take it is like, E, if you want to get back with us, you got to basically put in the work.
Mhm.
And so you got to get E. E just can't come back and just turn heel. You know what I'm saying? You got to work E to get to that heel point, right? If he wants to be with his boys, he's got to give him a reason to get to that point. And so just watch. E's all of a sudden one day he's going to pull a leg as somebody running the ropes.
Mm.
Like, I think it works ourselves into a way that the entire group turns into a heel group. And
That's it. Go ahead.
yeah, I think that's the best way you can kind of go about it, and I'm loving this direction, especially because if you were to take it outside of kayfabe, Kofi and Xavier hang out way too much. There's too many things that they do together where I'm like, from a business standpoint, it's like you're on up, up, down, down together.
Yeah.
Like, are you not just gonna show up on up, up, down? And like, what happens if like they're feuding and then they're playing Tekken together on up, up, down, down?
Yeah. You got to suspend your disbelief.
And again, it's 2024. Like the Usos are on there, the Street Profits are on
Mhm.
there. Like, okay,
Shayna Baszler, the most vicious woman, is on there all the
yeah,
time.
yeah. So it's like, okay, but like in this situation, it's like technically Kofi should not be on up, up, down, down, right? And so I think this works into a way. And then we didn't even talk about E's Player Tribune, post that he put out that Monday. Um, just kind of going through everything. I didn't read it, but it was called Sour, and basically it almost made people feel like, oh yeah, the New Day was breaking up today. The New Day's breaking up today, and it's like, y'all are putting a little too much on this breakup. That even that basically made me confirm that they weren't breaking up that night. So I like how it played out. I laughed my ass off when he said, "So you broke your neck? So what?" I was
Mhm.
that was hilarious to
Exactly.
me. Especially because like Kofi, you could see it hurt him to say that, because like he was like, I don't believe that. In my heart of hearts, he doesn't believe that. Like that's just obviously the acting that's necessary. But as soon as he started going, I was like, oh, Stone Cold broke his neck and he came back. Kurt Angle broke his neck and he came back. I was like, I wish he was like, Kurt Angle broke his neck and he won a freaking gold medal.
I did think that was coming. That line
That would have been
specifically.
that would have been a little too funny to break out. But I mean, I love where this is headed. I think this is one of the more difficult things you can do with super ultra baby faces is to turn them heel. And it's not as simple as just flipping a switch and saying that they're heel. Like there is a bit of building. And like I said last week, is Xavier really pissed at Kofi? Is at Kofi? Or is he just trying to get him to a point where it's like, yo, stop being happy for the ride and realize that like we still got gas in the tank and we can, we're not gonna get passed up by the MCMGs and the DIYs and the American Maids and things of that nature. Like we are still one of the best tag team champions ever in WWE history. When the Usos wanted to extend their championship reign to becoming the longest WWE tag team champions of all time, who was the last team that they had to beat to officially claim that title, that throne? The New Day. And so that is where it's like, okay, this is where it gets interesting. And I don't think E is going to be coming back anytime physically soon. I do think there's a door open, and we'll get to that when we get to NXT. But this is a great start, and I'm hoping it leads to a full heel New Day faction. But I can see that happening in a couple weeks. But I'm a fan of this. This is pretty much top shelf if I didn't predict it. That's the only reason why it's not top shelf is because I did a lot of good predicting on this.
It was the week before you said it, but you
what
did.
What are you talking about?
Let me finish. Let me. I was saying specifically when you said like not just like that they would be heel New Day, but that they would turn on specifically because you did call it like last week, like basically word for word. I'm saying you did the word for word last week.
I said that they would super kick him. They didn't super kick him, but they basically turned on him.
And I'm glad I didn't because, like I said, I held my tongue back. I got way more to say about it, but yeah, it was spectacular. That whole fucking segment was absolutely amazing. And I'll give myself, I guess, props to that. Yeah, Woods was a heel the whole time because I've been saying he was a heel the whole time, and it's like if you're a heel and you convince your buddy to be a heel with you, you're still a heel. So we're both right also on these predictions.
That's why I said like they didn't need it. His heelness was a little extreme, but I get it because again, they're so super faces. You can't be in the middle with your actions. Well, at least for him, right? If it was someone like Seth or someone whose character was a little bit like in between, being a good guy who was a little bit more grayer in their character, yeah, you could be a little bit more slicker in your actions. But I think with Xavier being such a baby face, it's not my style, but I get why they had to do it because you had to make it look like Xavier was frustrated. But how do you do that when it's like without giving him the benefit of the doubt? Basically, that's what you have to do. You have to eliminate the benefit of the doubt. You can't be like, you can't give him any rationale of like, okay, yeah, it makes sense. Me as a smart fan, as an adult, I can look at it and be like, yeah, I can understand why he's pissed. Do I think the moves that he's doing are right? No. He could have done we could have got to the exact same place without him having to resort to underhanded tactics. But I get it. Like, it's hard to just turn Rey Mysterio into a heel.
Yeah, that's why they was telling this story for months, which is why it's believable. And it's like, great, we got a heel New Day now. But
I did.
With the other primo we agreed on was the Seth and Sammy promo into their match, into Drew's return.
Yeah, all of that. It was a great bookending of the show. The beginning of the show, how it broke out. I love the conversation and how when, Sammy and Jay came out and then things started to like, get a little crowded around the ringside area. Seth said something slick to Jay where he was like, go back to Roman like you always do or something like that. And then Sammy was like, "Don't you talk to Jay like that?" and then
my friend.
one of the best conversations was like, "Yo, how you gonna say they family? You're not even blood. If you family with them, that makes you my family. Because we've been on this road way longer together." And I'm like,
Hmm.
"Talk your shit, talk your shit, Seth." And I'm biased when it comes to Seth Rollins, so you know everything Seth did, I'm all for. The entire night, Seth did no wrong. So shout out Seth Rollins.
He did. He might not have did wrong, but he definitely got shut up by Sammy, acknowledging the WWE Nexus moment of creating that monster that is Roman Reigns. I'm glad we got an acknowledgement, like in canon, that it's like, hey, this all started because of you. And then, like, you get the huge crowd reaction because obviously we know that whole long story of the Shield forever ago, and it's never really been said out loud for real. Like they've acknowledged it in passing and stuff, and like homages, like obviously in WrestleMania when Roman chooses to hit Seth, it's like clearly that's the reason why, and we get a full on acknowledgement of that. So I really like that.
I don't think
Even
he shut
Seth
him
was
up though, because
slightly,
Seth
he
came
was
back
slightly
afterwards and told him that, like,
after
yo, it's your
stumbling over
fault
his
too.
words. After stumbling over his words for a quick second, that's all I'm saying. It was great, like mic drop, like, oh shit. Like if you heard this argument in high school, like you would think, oh, the fight's about to happen. You're like, oh shit, you starting to crowd up now. And it did. And they went down in the main event. Sammy loses it in the match and accuses Seth of taking out Jay earlier in the night. Oh my God, who took out this person? We're getting a whole lot of whodunits, like with
Yeah.
Triple H, like right now. And but yeah, he convinces Sammy to throw the chair down. We've never seen Sammy that pissed off, and gets rolled up for it. The most devastating finisher in all of sports entertainment. We all know. Seth gets the W, makes his move out the ring. Sammy turns around, boom, Claymore. Who does a Claymore in a big old black sweater? It's about 6'6".
Yeah.
Who do you know? It's Drew freaking McIntyre. Now I'm not mad at this at all. I did expect Drew to come back. Like
I didn't.
soon. Like soon. I'm not saying I was expecting it this episode, but like
Yeah.
we know that he's just been out since, Hell in a Cell because he got stitches and all that stuff. And it's like he's selling the whole loss, right? I get it.
And there's a lot of family stuff too. That's why I didn't think about Drew, because I'm like, I know Drew was hurt, but he also had a lot of, family personal things. I think his wife was, sick as well and things of that nature. So for me, I'm like, I literally did not expect Drew. I did not expect Drew to be the person to jump. Who did he jump in the back?
Sammy. Or Jay. Jay was that's inferred. That's inferred.
I didn't expect him to be the person. I literally that was a genuine surprise, but that's mostly because I'm like, okay, Drew is genuinely away handling life business, and he worked his ass off for the last year and a half. Like, give that man the break that he needs. So I thought Drew was a wrestler. If anything, I thought Drew was going to come back Royal Rumble. I did not predict it now. So this was great.
Yeah. Okay, you just answered my question. You was expecting Royal Rumble. Okay. I mean, that's still within 2 months?
A month.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, still same area. Like we was thinking about it the same. Yeah. Royal Rumble, February 1st. Okay. Oh, so we got 2 months. But either way. Yeah, great segment. Glad Drew's back. And then I was thinking, like, why attack Sammy like immediately? But then I'm like, okay, I guess is this bloodline stuff? Just because obviously Sammy and Jay are friends. So that's where I'm like, that's where I was just kind of confused.
I think they on the Masked Man show, or maybe worldwide, Ringo Worldwide. We're getting a little bit of a Roman haters club.
Yeah,
the Roman haters club or whatever. And
yeah.
so like you got Punk, Seth,
Yeah.
not Punk, but you got Seth, Drew, KO, and a couple other people maybe to basically kind of go against Roman. So
for sure,
it is going to be interesting. And again, this is kind of like what really set off the road to WrestleMania. Just got kicked off. This is what set this is where I was like, okay, yeah, we're kicking off the road to WrestleMania tonight. This doesn't feel like this feels like we turned the page on to 2024 and it's like, all right, like, yeah, those dog days are over. this is the segment that basically established that we're getting ready for WrestleMania.
I ain't mad at that. I ain't mad at that at all. It's definitely the best show this week, and like I said, the best show it's felt in a long time.
Yeah.
Let's roll through these mids. We agreed on. I mean, we didn't expect Dom to have a chance against Gunther at all. But
No, but great match. There was a segment
great
because I was
match.
casually watching this. I was casually watching this, and there was a moment where like Dom had a little bit of a run, hit a frog splash, and I'm like, I'll look over. I'm like, what? 1, 2. I was like, okay, we're good, we're good. But it was like
Hey,
it was enough. Yeah, it was enough. I'm like, hold up.
hey, hey, number one wrestler 30 or 30 under 30 or whatever that list he was
Yeah,
on. Like,
yeah,
hey,
ESPN.
he's real. But yeah, Finn comes for the save, or does he get laid down?
Finn, I believe, came in afterwards. Yeah, he came in after Gunther beat Dom, and
Ah,
he
okay.
basically attacked him afterwards. But again, this is kind of continuing last because on Survivor Series, he came in, interfered in the Damian Priest match, and he coup de grace
Mm,
Damian Priest outside off the stairs, and then Gunther came out, ended up kicking Balor in the
Finn,
face, knocking him,
yeah.
yeah, in the face, and then eventually getting the win on it. So again, I'm a little annoyed that Damian Priest has to just keep dealing with these teenagers, even though Finn Balor's like in his early 40s. I'm like,
These teenagers. That is just a good thought to call them. Like they're just a group of teenagers, honestly. That's a gimmick.
yeah,
Like they're in their cool clubhouse and everything.
they're like those emo kids in South Park.
Yeah,
Those
exactly.
they're the goth kids in South Park.
Yeah, that's funny.
um, but yeah, it's the Finn Balor Gunther. It should be fun. That should be a fun match, But I think this is more so a storyline to push. I think this storyline, the Finn Balor Gunther storyline, is going to do more benefit than any storyline that Gunther's had the last few months. And then hopefully this gets the Judgment Day to break up on their side. That's kind of
Yeah.
what I'm hoping for out of this. I feel like
Oh,
this will give a little bit more character depth for Gunther because like maybe there's going to be more of like, oh look, like you only beat Finn Balor because of the dysfunction that the Judgment Day is kind of going through right now.
yeah.
And then the Judgment Day, with all their dysfunction, they're eventually going to break up because they're all just teenagers,
Yeah.
you know. So it's going to be a fun match when we get to Saturday night's main event next week. Any thoughts on that? I know I kind of
um
took up a lot of air on
no,
that.
no, that's why I didn't see the segment, which is why I did ask for your
Okay.
analysis on it. I wasn't exactly sure where Finn came in, but I knew that he came down. So, but yeah, just glad that Finn is actually like getting another title shot because I mean,
Yeah.
I know I don't have to remind you, like first ever Universal Champion had to relinquish it the next day. He's like one of those Triple H guys that was like on the Indies, and it's like him and Seth, like yeah, I would argue that Finn should be not should be Seth, but should at least be on the same platform as Seth. I think I could make that argument just as far as like ability when they're signed, all that type of stuff. Like NXT was built on both of them, really,
Yeah.
because even Roman down in NXT wasn't as over as Finn was. So uh, hopefully, eventually, sometime in 2025, maybe Finn can hold the title. I would like that. I would really, really much like
Oh,
that.
I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that actually working. It's just again, is he going to do it with Judgment Day or is he going to do it on himself?
Hmm.
Because I mean, I would like to see even if it was like if he ended up taking JD McDonough with him, and it was just like him and JD, and then JD would just be like running the IC championship lane, and Finn holding
Yeah.
the world heavyweight championship. Like that would be a dope look,
Yeah. Absolutely.
but it would require you actually just to put over JD instead of being
Hmm.
a crash test dummy for everybody. It's like, oh, okay, yeah,
But then yeah, definitely gotta get those tag team championships up off of them too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're gonna have to book that, and then we can get into like their next phase. But
The tag team championships are going back to the New Day.
yeah, yeah. Dakota Kai getting a W and
Yeah.
progressing in this women's intercontinental tournament over Shayna and Katana Chance. I'm glad she's getting the look. Shayna, I think would have been my pick, just
Yeah.
for
On
the
first
body of work
glance
that she's put in.
on first glance when I saw the bracket, I was like, "Oh, okay, Shayna." Like just making like quick guesses off of a glance, I was like,
Mhm.
"Okay, Shayna, Raquel, Lyra, Naomi, cool." And I took a bit of a second. I'm like, okay, this match was Dakota Kai, Shayna Baszler, and Katana Chance, right? The
Yeah.
next match was Zoe Stark, Raquel Rodriguez, and Kaden Carter. So basically, you got the same match, right? Like
Yeah.
it basically was like, okay, Pure Fusion Collection versus Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. It's kind of
Hmm.
seems like it's in the books. Like it seems like you could easily get there, which would leave Dakota Kai and Raquel Rodriguez the opportunity to kind of move forward. So, I'm happy that Dakota Kai won. Like I said, she just came back a couple weeks ago after another injury that she had. She's had a history of injuries, and so for her to even move forward into this tournament to become the first women's intercontinental champion is really dope. Um, I don't think the Zoe Stark match happened, right? Or did Raquel Rodriguez win that?
Oh no, that I have a match up here. There was the tag match, Liv and Raquel versus Damage Control.
No, I'm talking about in the
That's what.
tournament.
No, I don't believe that happened yet.
So we
Was it
only have
announced?
they put up a whole bracket.
Looking, yeah, yeah. I'm looking at the review of it. I don't think that happened this episode.
Okay. Well, either way, um, there's a either way, it's gonna just be interesting to see how far she makes it. I don't think she's going to make it. It's gonna be. I don't know. I don't trust her winning against Raquel Rodriguez, but that would be a dope
Yeah,
upset. But
yeah,
happy for her.
yeah. The last thing that I had, I'm happy for it too. Last said, it was just like you said, just initial thought. It's like, oh yeah, well, Shanna did wipe out the elimination chamber by herself when they did that, so that's why I had her going over. Um, yeah, my last shakeup here actually was Liv and Raquel versus Damage Control, and Rhea obviously comes to get another piece of Liv. And the only thing that threw me for a loop was, I mean, I understand that I guess they're just continuing with this story of her face being damaged, like her breaking her orbital bone and stuff. She had the mask on,
Mhm.
like all the way up until this point, and then we see that she doesn't have the mask on, and then immediately her eye gets ran into the corner of the announce table. So I'm like, hey, are we about to have or not live, but you know, pirate Rhea or something? Like that's what I think is coming. Like it'll match the look anyway. She already has that goth look. Might as well put an eye patch on. So I just thought that it was interesting they went with this eye injury again.
Yeah.
That's
I
why it's in
mean,
shake. I was like, all right, we're targeting the eye. Okay, cool. Remember, Rey Mysterio lost his eye versus Seth Rollins. So,
facts. I
and
mean,
then it was grown back.
this this is Shake is the best place that you could probably put it in this because this is just rinse, wash, repeat.
Absolutely.
And it sucks because it's like Io Sky apparently has a championship match with Liv Morgan at Saturday night's main event.
Mm.
Because she was a number one contender that she won months ago, but they just never said anything. You know who also won a tag team? You know who also is a number one contender in WWE that they just completely threw away?
Who's that?
Dudes from TNA that they were partners with Wesley.
Oh, the Rascals.
They technically are number one contenders for the tag team championships in NXT.
Yeah.
So that is one thing. And then second, it's like, okay, she just won WarGames last night. And then all of a sudden, you just get squashed by not even Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez.
Mm-hmm.
Just destroys both Io and Kairi Sane. And then what happens? This is my brutality. Rhea just walks out like every goddamn week.
Mm-hmm.
Just walks out angry, runs, runs away. We'll do this again next week, folks. Hey,
Yeah,
man,
Raquel got her back that time.
it's this is the only that's the one thing that feels like we're still stuck in last year. We haven't we we haven't moved on to a WrestleMania.
Yeah.
We haven't turned the page into 2025 yet. It's getting a little tiring. Um those are my thoughts. I didn't have anything else from Raw. Overall, I thought it was a great show. One of the best shows of the year. And like I
For
said, I think
sure.
we're getting ready for the road to WrestleMania.
I got
Anything
you.
else?
Let's do it. No, I'm done. That's why I was shake. The bodega.
Bodega.
I want you to lead off with this since you have a way more unique title for this. So, what do you mean by Jada Parker is going to have some fines coming?
Yeah. So this is the go home to Deadline that happens tonight. I think probably 6 or 7 o'clock. Whenever that is. But yeah. So the first match of the night, I believe, was the Women's Iron Survivor Last Chance qualifier, whatever they call it. And it was Jada Parker, Ren Sinclair, Cora Jade, and Kalani Jordan. Lola Vice comes out, tries to, take out Jada Parker, but Jada Parker ends up ducking, knocking out Ren Sinclair, who falls on top of Cora Jade. And Ren Sinclair ends up getting the 1-2-3. That immediately gets Lola Vice and Jada Parker into a brawl. They start feuding and blah, blah, blah. Then all of a sudden, like, Jada Parker is just tight. She is got a microphone. She is cussing people out. She talks about Lola Vice saying like, "Oh, you want to talk about underground and this, that, and the stuff like that? We could do that right now." And then she's telling the ref to basically untighten the ropes to get the ring set up for underground right now. And then
Mm-hmm.
he's just kind of standing there looking at her. And she's like, loud as clear. You can find the playback. But she's like, you hear me, nigga? Like,
Oh, did she? Okay.
yeah, she's like, you
Yeah.
hear me, nigga?
Oh, damn. Okay.
She's like, nigga, I know you hear me.
Yeah,
And
that's why. Yeah, the realness came
like
out like too
she was a
strong.
hella tight. And then she went back into the ring, still calling out, Lola Vice and things of that nature. Lola Vice ends up, Ava comes out, then Lola Vice comes out. But then at one point, she calls Lola Vice a bitch, which we hear bitch used in WWE. But it's very selective, you know? But she said bitch. And then she also said, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. No, she was
So,
flexing real hard that rating, that TV rating with the amount of cuss words, I guess. Yeah. I see where you're going.
Two of them slipped up. She ain't supposed to say nigga, and she ain't supposed to say shit.
Yeah, yeah.
The bitch she could probably get away with. But nigga, she was way too pissed.
That's funny as hell. I didn't catch that.
She was way too tight to character. She's like, nigga, I know you hear me.
Yeah, so that's why I didn't catch that at all. But I had this in my primo because it was the best. I thought this whole episode was super mid. Like it didn't move the needle for me really at all as a go home for Deadline. But the best thing on it was Jada and Lola Vice. So
yeah.
I just had the visual of her like actually getting her get back and knocking her ass out. Like it was a pretty quick motion, although I did think I'm like, Lola Vice, you an MMA fighter, bitch. You ain't see that shit coming. Like that was the one thing where I'm like, you ain't guard shit. Like you should be able to react to a back elbow. You know what I'm saying? But I really like their rivalry, and it's definitely, I mean, I would say it's the best women's rivalry in WWE right now because Nia's just champion right now. We know we got Tiffy in the back burner. That's not really a rivalry. That's just like waiting for an opportunity. We got Rhea and Liv, who, you just said they should be in Reggie. You know what I'm saying? They're beyond cooked already at this point. So it's like, all right, what else are we doing? And then the main event of NXT women's roster is all jumbled up because they got so many new characters they're just trying to put over at once. So there's not really,
Yeah.
a single. Well, we'll find out who the title contender is tonight, but the best rivalry in WWE women right now,
This is the match
in my
I'm looking
opinion.
forward to tonight the most.
Yeah,
Is
me too.
this underground match. And honestly, like, as much as I like them fighting, I'm like, man, they would be a dope ass like women version of the Bar
Hmm.
or the APA. Just start
Yeah,
off as rivals and then just end up being like, you know
work
what?
into it.
We're two badass women that will take
Mhm.
no shit from nobody. And just seeing them as a tag team, Lola Jada Parker would be dope. That would
Yeah.
be a really dope tag team. So, um, yeah, this is the definitely the match of the night that I'm looking for is Jada Parker, Lola Vice, Underground. That's my primo. And Jada, hey, I love the passion, the vigor. You know, I love how you was really into what was happening in that moment. Hopefully them fines ain't hurting your pocket too bad.
Hey, reel it back, my nigga. That's what we saying. Reel it in, my nigga. Hey, you can't be
And I'm
saying nigga
curious,
on
like,
TV. Come on now.
like, does she have Spanish in her?
I don't know.
I'm not.
I
I know she's black. I'm like, because Lola Vice, she was saying some stuff in Spanish as well, and then she called her like a sucia, which I don't know what that means.
dirty
And then
bitch, dirty bitch.
okay, and then after she had knocked Lola Vice out, um, she was kind of saying stuff back in Spanish, but it was more like Spanish with an English accent. But I'm
Yeah.
like, there was a hint of an accent, so I'm like, I don't know if she's like Afro Latina.
If she really do this shit. If she really
are you Afro Latina or are you just like African American? I'm just.
I mean, yeah, like it could be like her mom's Dominican and her dad's black. She probably got maybe a little something there. So
it's more out of curiosity, not anything out of judgment. So, but yeah, main thing I'm looking forward to tonight. Let's get into these mids. I'll start off with well, I'll go through my list because you just wrote ditto and I have 3 things. You wrote 2 dittos and I have 3 things here. So I'm gonna go out through my list and then you just tell me what you dittoed. But let me go through my list. So first thing in my mids is these are all mid rising for the most part. Ren Sinclair, Eddie Thorpe qualifying for the Iron Survivor match. More so, 2 people that I didn't expect to win the match, especially like Ren Sinclair. I think Eddie Thorpe, especially off the events of what happened last week, was like, okay, maybe there's something that you could probably predict. But either way, it's nice to see that like they went with people that you didn't expect to win. Because again, with the other match with the women's, you either think it's going to be Jada Parker or Kalani, or maybe even Cora. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Cora Jade won that. But for Ren Sinclair to win that was a little bit surprising. The men's side, again, it's a little bit more easier to kind of see Eddie Thorpe, especially because you had Axiom, you had Lexus King, and I'm forgetting the 4th person in that as well. But either way, I'm glad that Cedric. I'm glad that they went with people that you wouldn't typically expect. So obviously, I don't think they're going to win. Eddie Thorpe, I don't even know if he's going to be in the match.
Yeah.
Because, he got jumped at the end of the night. By who?
Somebody. By family? By some of Ava's family? That's if it ain't her daddy.
My initial thought was like, okay, could it be Lexus King or maybe it was Wesley? But I'm like, but Wesley's already in the match, so why would Wesley do it outside of being a dick,
a heel? Yeah.
But like he jumped RVD, so it's not out of his nature. I like the bloodline aspect.
Come on, yo. Come on. Give me another one.
I like the Rock aspect. Aspect. If the Rock aspect if this was the direction that they were going, because I would love to see how Ava handles the situation when not only her father comes to her show, but the final boss.
Yeah. That's the one. That's the one where I was like, that's obviously asking a lot. We know because that's NXT. That is, I would put that percentage at like a wishful, because that's his daughter. I would put that at a wishful 10%, 10% chance that we would ever get to see Rock while Ava is, NXT's general manager. But even if it's not,
Man,
just
if he's
Bloodline
the
in
final
general.
boss, man, like, and just like overruling her and just being
Mm.
like, sweetie, I got this. And just being like, yo, like, I get it, baby. Like, just basically like not seeing the actual general manager in her and being like, yo, you're my daughter.
Mhm.
But then he's gonna be like, I'm final boss. And it's like, okay, no. And then maybe that gives Ava something to like, yo, father, smack.
Yeah, to get her physical for the first time.
Get off my show, dad.
Yeah, that'd be
So
fire.
I highly doubt, but man, what are the odds? What is it? Plus 1,000?
Yeah, yeah, plus 1,000. Yeah, bet on
Plus
that.
1,000, plus 10,000,
Mhm.
whatever it is, I'm putting $10 on that.
Yeah,
Whatever it
yeah.
is, I'm putting $10 on The Rock, making his presence felt.
Mhm.
Maybe it's
And if it's not him, the more
it's one of
realistic
the
is
NOIs.
Hikuleo.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
like, maybe it's
either
the
Lance.
NOIs or
Yeah,
the Hikuleos or like, but it could
it's either
still
one of
come
those
from the
two.
Rock's. It could come from the Rock's authority.
I would
That's her
love that.
father.
Like I said,
That
just
is her
just hearing
father,
that.
and that is
Yeah.
the final boss.
Mm-hmm.
He is
Just acknowledging
TKO
the final
board
boss.
member, not WWE. TKO board member. And y'all niggas in NXT, y'all ain't even on the main roster.
Mm.
Y'all a step up above WWE ID.
Like final boss could swat like in kayfabe. I believe the final boss could get NXT canceled. Like he could just be like, get rid of it.
All the lives like off like that.
Exactly.
We're done here. This is a terrible investment. Go home.
Jesus.
But yeah, what were your dittos between those three that and my last one, we didn't even finish the word. Rich Holland injures Trick Williams' neck. I put injures in quotes. And the last one is the no quarter cash crew winning the tag team battle royal. The tag team battle royal is more so, it's not so much the no quarter catch crew winning it. I could care less who won that. Couldn't care less who won that. I like the use of a tag team battle royal. I prefer a tag team we talked about this
Tornado
like
match.
Or tornado eliminator, the tag team tornado eliminator match. But this was a close one that we got. I don't like the over the throat. I don't like the over the top rope. I think that's a little too easy. I'd rather have a pinfall or a submission. But I like the dynamic of using tag teams and then splitting them up, but still having someone win.
Yeah,
I think that shows a great strength in a tag team that, like, hey, we don't always have to win together. If we're in an elimination scenario, one of us should be able to pick up this win.
I really did like the fact that, like you said, it was just just to answer your question, I had it in Shake, the no quarter catch crew winning the battle royal because Ridge and the Iron Survivor qualifiers, those were the dittos. But no quarter catch crew winning, I agree. I didn't care who actually won, but the match quality was definitely like mid-rising. So it was just a matter of like, we just had the match just for the sake of the match, but it was great. You know what I'm saying? So that was the only difference. And then I like Ridge hitting the Redeemer on Trick. Just if anything, he is a physical threat. Like he's big as shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you need to like really sell like, oh, Trick could lose the title. You know what I'm saying? Like tonight at Deadline. So, and I don't know if that did it for me, but I mean, that and kayfabe happened, this week. So that should move the percentage points. If we were betting on this,
so
at least
there's
a little bit.
there's we'll get to that when we get to the deadline predictions. But I mean, one thing I wanted to talk about with the Ridge injuring Trick Williams' neck is the fact that the night before we saw the return of Big E on television for the first time, which it's crazy. They said it on the broadcast. He injured his neck like 2021, 2022. It's been 3 years, almost 4 years since since Big E has been inside of
Active.
like the arena. Like he's been obviously on like the post and pregame shows, but like actually within like the allotted time of television, it's like, man, like that's crazy to think that like that's the first time we've seen Big E actually walk out. They talk about his neck, it being broken, and so what, and all that stuff. The nigga that broke his neck the next night breaks somebody's neck.
Yeah.
He
That's
got
synergy.
carted.
That's
He got
synergy in
carted.
booking.
He
Yeah.
got carted out. You know,
Mhm.
it's funny because if you watch, Trick started defense a little bit, but I think somebody was like, "No, Nick, do not do that. Do not do that.
The ref
Grab
whispered
your
in his
neck."
ear, "Hey, no, chill out, chill out, chill out."
He's like, "Grab your neck." Which I'm like, okay, if you're grabbing your neck, you probably don't have a neck problem like that because
Mhm.
you wouldn't be moving if you had a serious neck injury. Like he immediately went back to grab his neck and was like, "Ah!" It's like,
Yeah.
bro,
Daniel Bryan, his good one was always one arm like this, and he would like straighten
yeah.
this arm out. That's what he would always do for the
But
neck
the
injury.
fact I say all that to say is the fact that it opens up the door for ETH for possibly being cleared. I don't know within the next 2 weeks or anything. I'm just saying like the door for E coming back and actually even taking a bump is more open with the fact of what happened these last 48 hours
Mm.
or 24 hours.
Okay.
I don't think WWE would be that insensitive to do that stuff. And then the next night, the guy that broke your neck to break somebody else's neck in
I
kayfabe.
think that's like I said, I think that's threading a needle if you would be I guess offended by that. Is that the right word, I guess? To have
Not
Ridge like
offended.
do the same
It's not
thing.
offended, but
But
it's just more of just like obviously he went there. Ridge went back to NXT in real life to clean up some of his work, but then also probably regain some confidence. They used some of that storyline in his. They used some of that real life storyline in his character storyline.
Mhm.
So it's not a first time they've used this notion that Ridge Holland is unsafe or could possibly break your neck. I do think they took a little bit of a break with that, but I do think that it just seems the fact that like if we're able to kind of go with these doors, it just seems like okay. Again, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it just seems like it gives a little bit more credence that maybe E is a little bit more likely to be around, maybe taking a bump. Ridge has, to be able to give specifically Ridge that thing, that spot is an interesting one. That's all I'm saying, and I think it just means that not anything specifically with like what is happening kayfabe wise. I just think from a larger, shoot perspective, it's like okay, we don't feel that we don't have to walk around on eggshells with this story. We can kind of bring it in. We could bring some reality to it because we've gotten past the dark parts
Mhm.
of what's happening. You know what I'm saying? Like E is in a better spot in his life. Ridge is in a better spot in his life. That, this is no longer a touchy subject anymore. This is something that we can work into a storyline.
Yeah. Okay.
Compared to like
Uh
something like, back in the day, WWE would like they would use real raw emotional stuff that is happening to somebody in their real life in that moment. It's like, oh yeah, Lita and Edge are cheating
mhm.
on Jeff Hardy,
Matt
Matt
Hardy.
Hardy.
Mhm.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's put that in the storyline today. Oh yeah, Hawk from Legion of Doom is suffering from alcoholism. Yeah, let's put him on top in Titantron and push him off
Mm.
and say that he was drunk during the match. It's like that is where I'm saying like WWE was a lot more insensitive to the things that were going on with their wrestlers. That it didn't matter if you were going through it in real time. They were going to use it because it's like, hey, like, bring some of your true life into your
This
character. But
is
it's like,
art
hey,
imitates life.
I'm still going through this shit in my real life. Now, if this is
Mhm.
3 years down the road and I've already, gone past it and I'm healed up and I feel comfortable going with it, by all means. But don't use me in my personal life to profit for television and embarrass me.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. So, nonetheless, great show. I had one shake. Um, and this is more general of me being a little bit more easier, not just on NXT, but just in general. Where like last week I was saying, and I've said this a few times, like where there's got to be a better story than you're giving these people than some of the grade school elementary storylines that we get. But I also got to remember in that same breath that wrestling is a variety show and you're not going to like everything and not everything is meant for you or things are, it's made to fit a wide spectrum of things. Carmen Petrovich over Nikita Lyons, I don't care for any of this story. It's not my thing. I could put this in Shake and Reggie, but again, it's not my thing. But I'm sure it could be working for somebody else. I just, I'm like, okay, this is this is this is basically like reality television, and I'm like, fine, I get it. Like Nikita, not many people might know, but she was on a reality television show, a love dating
Mhm.
show. So it's not like this is too hard for her to get into character to play. It just doesn't work for me. And I could be rude and I could shit on it, but hey, like they're trying to make the best to make it work. And again, not everything needs to be Breaking Bad. You know what I'm saying? Not everything needs to be HBO. It could be network cable television as well. So there's a wide spectrum of things. This is not my favorite. I'm not going to shit on it and say that, like, yeah, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. So I just put it in Shake because it's mostly not for me.
Yeah, I like love storylines. Like Index is like one of my favorite NXT. I personally believe the best love story ever in WWE. I never watched the Macho Man. I know it's historic, but and
Mhm.
Miss Elizabeth. But this storyline, the first thing I wanted to say, a storyline is better than no storyline because both of
Exactly.
these women could not be doing anything. You know what I'm saying? So I'm much rather have them be built up like this because this storyline actually starts with Ashanti the Adonis. He's been after Carmen Petrovic for over a month, and she had been like, nah, 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 I'm good. He finally basically cuffs her last week when they get the tag victory. And now they're like not going steady, but like she's on the same page with him. And then, this week, Nikita brings a whiff of ass around him. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So that's really what brings us to this point. And yeah, you're right. It is, reality TV, like love triangle type shit. But I'd rather see both of these women putting on a show than be stuck back in catering. You know what I'm saying? This is the
Exactly.
most I've cared about Carmen Petrovic or Ashanti the Adonis or
Yeah.
even Nikita Lyons. So that's a net positive for all of
Yeah.
them.
Like I said, like it could be easy for me to just say this is Reggie and we could just shit on it and say all the I'm like, man, okay, I gotta realize, hey, it's a variety show. You're not gonna like everything, but not everything is terrible. It's just not your
Hmm.
style. It's not your flavor. Like, I'm sure there's things that could have worked better, but hey, it's also NXT. Nikita just came back from injury. She's trying to, get herself back in the groove. And so, like you said, it's great that you have a storyline and you're not just sitting there back there and catering, figure what you're going to do. It's just not my
Exactly.
type of story. It's just not my story. So, I mean, hopefully, hopefully it finds its groove. Maybe they can, because outside of the love story, I'm like, where does this lead us to? Like, what do we, what is the main thing? Who comes, like, what is the thing that I guess any one of these people kind of get out of any of this
Yeah,
from
I
a
mean, I think
character development?
that's still being told. But right now, like step by step, week by week, this story makes sense right now. Like week to week, this
Yeah.
story makes sense. So we're just in like the steady in our feet pattern of this right now. And right now, what we're getting out of it, like even beyond kayfabe, is just strictly a rivalry between Nikita and Carmen. So if this
Yeah.
builds to, a singles, a PLE match later down the line or whatever, then fine. Or
Does
more than
Carmen
likely,
Petrovich
probably an
have
NXT main event, maybe an NXT like weekly main event they'll get.
does Carmen Petrovich have a fighting background?
Yeah, she comes like part of her entrance is coming out with like katanas and shit. So I feel
I'm
like
saying,
she
but
did
like, is she
some
is
karate
she like
or
Lola
something.
Vice, where she used to be like an MMA fighter?
Not that I'm aware.
because you know, like Nikita Lyons, like she has some type of like, I don't know if she's official, but like she does like have some type of like MMA background in some
Yeah.
capacity. But that's it for me from the bodega. That was the go home show. Um, do we have anything else we want to talk about before we move over to or make our way to the coffee shop?
I'm straight. I'm straight.
Cool. So before we actually walk into the coffee shop, it was announced on Wednesday that next week we have Saturday night's main event, but it was announced for next month, January 25th, my birthday, that the next Saturday night's main event will be a week before the Royal Rumble in San Antonio. Um, that's dope. We got wrestling on my birthday. I'm excited. I always wish that
There you
like
go.
the Royal
Like I know
Rumble
what I'm
would
doing.
fall on my birthday. It's like I always wish the Royal Rumble would fall on my birthday. It seems like they might be pushing it into February nowadays, but I hope not. I hope they say in January. But um, hey, yeah, I'm excited. I mean, we'll see how this first Saturday night's main event goes. But for it to be a week before the Royal Rumble, I'm curious to see what kind of things come out of it. Because like
Mhm.
right now, this is the last. The one that's coming up next week is just the last one before we actually get to the Royal Rumble, right? So technically we have two Saturday nights main events before our next PLE.
Yeah,
And so
that's what this is saying.
I'm curious to see what kind of ramifications come out of this second one a week before the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, that is interesting.
It also was announced that Jesse the Body Ventura will be on the announced team for next week's Saturday night's main event.
Yeah, I saw
Pretty
he
sure he was
actually
on.
Bill Simmons did an interview with him.
Yeah. I didn't listen to it, but it was in the description. I was like, oh, okay, cool. That's what's up. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure he was on the original broadcast of Saturday night's main event. He's a pretty good commentary guy, so it'll be interesting to
Yeah,
hear. They're going with the whole retro aesthetic and things of that
yeah,
nature.
super distinct voice too. So it'll be great to hear
Yeah.
from you.
Let's get into the coffee shop. AEW
Yeah,
Dynamite.
I'm gonna sprint through this. All right,
Yep.
primo for me, best thing on the show. Jay White getting over onto Pac, like that was a great individual match. But really,
Hmm.
Team AEW. I know you see that you got this in mids, but Team AEW finally touch up Mox. Like everybody hits the finishers on him. I'm like, all right, he can be felled. He can be felled. And really,
Yeah.
um, I know Kaz said this on Mass Man. He was like, man, bless Darby Allin, but yo, you gotta be believable. And this is like the Jay White from New Japan that we've been waiting to see. That's what Kaz said. And I'm like, yeah, this is the switchblade. You know what I'm saying? Granted, I love Bang Bang Gang, but that was more so he got a whole lot into comedy right there. You know what I'm saying? But
Hmm.
with him being entangled in this like main like AEW World Championship, whole thing, I'm like, okay. When I see that, I'm like, he looks like a world champion. You know what I'm saying? He looks appropriate standing there, like hitting Blade Runner on Moxley. So I'm sure a contender down the line for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
I like that match as well. And yeah, the match was great. And then yeah, the most thing that I took from it was the Death Fighters finally, like you said, getting touched up because they've been
mhm,
here since September,
yeah,
and they just been running roughshod against everybody that has come through their path. So just to see them just take a bump, you know what I'm saying?
yeah. Finally, yeah. Because I mean, they've been jumping
Like,
them, like they've been getting hits on them and stuff, but they ain't been able to like really get them,
yeah,
like hit them. It's always like a brawl, and they like last week they drove away in a fucking F-350. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Or 2 weeks ago, whenever
So
that was. So
I have that in mid for the fact that I'm like, okay, like I'm glad that y'all got y'all finally got y'all licking on the Death Riders, but let's see where that takes y'all. If
yeah.
it just means that the Death Riders come back harder and just kick you back down the hill, okay, we're a little
Mm,
bit back to the status quo. But then if y'all actually start like building momentum, I'm like, all right, like we can maybe get this up to
mhm,
primo.
yeah. I agree with you. The best actual like Continental Classic match on here was Fletcher defeating Shelton. I really like
Hmm.
that. Um, I think it's funny, like he leans on the rope or he pulls the ropes towards him, like as he's like cheating to win. And I'm like, that's not the leverage. That's not how that works. But
Yeah.
just grabbing the rope automatically means double pressure. So it's like, okay, I get it. But protect Shelton and the heel young boy on the way up, snivels his way out of it. You know what I'm saying? So they got a young Randy Orton look for him, and I think it works for Kyle Fletcher. So the whole sleeve tatted and the buzz cut. So, and then also just giving us a nice little short segment of the Hurt Syndicate also being disappointed in Shelton afterwards. Like, hey, we don't lose around here. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I would like to see what that not that he'll get repercussions, not right now. Like he's a founding member, you know what I mean? But I wonder what repercussions look like inside the Hurt Syndicate. So it just put that nugget in my head, like for future reference. I got in my mid Swerve stomping out Max Caster because this is exactly what it should have been, which is Max Caster is just like when Carmelo was talking shit to Cody. Like, and it's like, you have no fucking clue like who you're talking to right now. Like, this is the most dangerous man in AEW. And he's like, all right, lace him up. I'll see you next week. This man gets 3 house calls to the side of the dome and 2 swerve stomps for good measure. Like, glorified just squash. Like, he got no offense in and he shouldn't have. He got put in his place like the little bitch that he is, as far as I'm concerned. So Swerve is still top tier, still S tier.
Yeah, Swerve needed that. After the last couple of weeks, he is like, bro, let me put some respect back on my name.
He took his frustration out on him for sure. That's what that was. His losses to the Hurt Syndicate. And in C2 updates, we got we already said Fletcher over Shelton. Need to correct this from last week. I thought Okada wasn't in it. He is in it, so that makes this tournament better. Okada over Mark Briscoe, and Claudio wins over Brody King. All the matches have been great. The last thing that I wanted to mention, this is actually on Ring of Honor, brother company to AEW. We got Matt Cardona showing up and challenging Ring of Honor World Champion Chris Jericho at Final Battle, which is, the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. And I'm like, oh, this is perfect. This is where Jericho has to drop it. Are you kidding me? Like the indie god, like he even called him Zach, like in this promo. Yeah. And he was like, hey, I've worked my ass off. Zach is dead. And I'm like, you damn right, Matt. You damn right. I've been grinding on the indies. We all know this. And in case you didn't know, Matt Cardona, he's always ready. Matt Cardona, like, I'm always ready. I ain't gotta, or what's the phrase? You don't got to get ready if you stay ready, but he's always ready. Matt Cardona. So it's like, Jericho ain't ready for him. He's just not. Like, Matt's in his prime. Drop this belt, dog. Like, let him put some roots down or something. Like, I would love to see him like on a major promotion with a world title. Are you kidding me? Like, he did show up. He popped up in TNA, never got the title, but he's always appreciated. And when you can have that hustle, like, it's like, I think it might be paying off. Hopefully so. Fingers crossed. But that's curious, the last bit of news I want to see.
Is he like the ultimate, like, he's not signed with AEW or Ring of Honor?
No. I
think these are like, these are just like independent contracts, right? It's like, I'm going to be here for a few shows. So that is honestly the life.
Yeah.
If you can make it work out like that, like, it's like, why would I want to be like, unless I'm like with WWE, like, fine, I'll take the comfort and security of something like a WWE. But even then, like, if I'm Matt, I'm at a point where my career is like, I'll be at a WWE. I could pop up on WWE anytime I want if you come.
If he shows up, Royal Rumble, Ring of Honor champion Matt Cardona shows up. Book it, dog. Give me the mystery contestant.
I would love that. I would love that. But the fact that AEW Tony owns the fact that Tony owns Ring of Honor, he is not letting his belt go on to.
Man, that would be. I know, but that would be fire.
As much as he could do it, because he's an independent wrestler.
I got caught up in my feelings. You're right. I got caught up in my feelings, but just then, that would.
If it was a TNA, that's happening. But
I got caught up. I want to see it either way. Yeah.
Maybe
he doesn't win the title.
His wife is at WWE, so
exactly. It's not like he ain't at the shows. But that's That's all I had from
The coffee shop.
the coffee shop. Yeah, just to
Okay,
sprint
cool.
through that
Yeah.
real quick.
Yeah, I didn't have much from AEW, but they do have an event coming up. I'm not sure if it's a PLE or if it's a themed. Is it a theme show or a PLE? Winter's coming.
Yeah, it's themed, or I think it's Holiday Bash. That's actually here. It's gonna be in DC on the 18th.
Oh, that's the 18th show.
Yeah,
That's Dynamite,
it's
right?
like
That's a Dynamite.
it's Dynamite. It's like Dynamite Holiday Bash or something like that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I saw them saying winter is coming, and I'm like, huh. That there is the brand synergy for your ass because TBS and TNT is all underneath the Warner Discovery brand, which
Well, yeah,
owns
exactly.
HBO, which owns
Yeah.
Game of Thrones.
Exactly. Yeah, and they've been saying that like since AEW's been like they've been had that winter is coming special. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah, that would probably be I don't know maybe the week after next. I don't know. That'd be Christmas Day. I don't know which one would be winter is coming, but we'll look into it either
Christmas is
way.
like 3 weeks, so yeah, it's like 3 weeks away. So we got
Yeah.
yeah, it's in 2 weeks. All
Okay.
right. Ready to move over to Thursday and get into the book of wrestling. Let's go. My jam. Killed that shit. Book of Wrestling. You've been a lot more on top of these, so I'm gonna let you pick the first one, and I'll be surprised on what the second one is.
Yeah. The one I pick is December 5th, 2013, the last AJ Styles match of TNA, which this has some even synergy with WWE, but at an Impact taping, Magnus, which is Nick Aldis's indie name, Magnus, defeated AJ Styles in a title unification match to become the undisputed TNA heavyweight champion. This would turn out to be AJ Styles' last match with the company after his 11-year run. He had been with the company since its inception in 2002, and we know what happened next. He popped up in 2014 at the Royal Rumble with They Don't Want None, entry number 3 in the Royal Rumble. But AJ Styles, the face that built TNA, or the face that built the place over on SmackDown Live too. Legend over there.
Yeah. That's crazy, man. Nick Aldis, Magnus, what a name.
Yeah.
Was it
right.
do you know what his character was like? Was he like a Gunther? That's how I kind of see it.
He
I'm
was
like,
pompous. Yeah, he was, but he was pompous, like kind of elitist. It was almost like I would say a modern, kind of like what Triple H was doing, like as Hunter Hearst Helmsley, like completely.
okay.
But he had the classic look to him because he also was a student of like NWA and stuff like that. So he even did like the title belt hold up by the side like Cody and his dad do. That's how he always does it. So that's what I remember of his character, at least. And also, I mean, I know you know this, but dang, Richmond legend, Mickey James' husband. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
He retired AJ,
right.
made him come to WWE.
And now look, AJ not even on the show anymore. Where is AJ? I don't know. He lost a few weeks ago. He'll be back. He'll be back. I'll take the second one. December 4th, 2001. The Kiss My Ass Club. This man's Kiss My Ass Club is unofficially closed when McMahon is forced by The Rock to kiss Rikishi's ass on SmackDown. I actually kind of remember this. I don't remember the exact contest. I just remember the fact of like Vince just like The Rock just grabbing Vince's back of his head,
yeah,
and just smushing it into Rikishi's ass. So yeah, fuck Vince. He deserved
yeah,
it.
exactly, exactly. Come on now.
I hope Rikishi didn't wash.
Exactly. Yo, when Booker threw up after the stink face, that made me believe that Rikishi doesn't wash his ass. Actually, like I'm pretty sure they said that.
Maybe it was him, or maybe it was Yokozuna, but I believe it was him. They said that Rikishi had 2 thongs, like basically tights, whereas like there was a good one and a bad one, and depending on who you were, you would get one or the other.
The bad, yeah. That's funny as hell.
So shout out to Rikishi and The Rock, for doing something.
Doing justice. to that
Yeah.
to that asshole. And that's the thing is that he runs the show, so he wrote that in there, and he's like, I need to atone. He was like, this is my punishment.
No, he was like, smash my face into his ass. I want to get right up in at it. I want to smell it.
Yeah.
Either way, let's get into the boutique, the go home show for not even a go home. This is the first show after Survivor Series War Games. We're at SmackDown, and it was a interesting show to say the
It was
least. There was some,
another mid show, in my opinion. Pretty mid
yeah,
overall.
yeah. But you did have the highest thing on the card.
Yeah, I call it DIY played us for fools. Just because I did like the fact that Johnny went with it, like the heel turn so quickly, because I mean that's what Ciampa gave him. Last week he was like, yo, you got a week to get your head together, or
Mhm.
I'll figure this shit out myself. And they clearly got on the same page because when Ciampa has the ref distracted during the tag team title match, he just straight up low blows Alex Shelley, like just the whole on, puts the elephant trunk all the way through his legs, and stands up, prouder than ever. And they hit meat in the middle for the W, and then we got some new tag team champions. So I really enjoyed that. Just like the smugness of Johnny, like, oh, what did y'all
Yeah.
think was gonna happen? Like, that's kind of what I thought. Like he was playing off. Like, what, you think we were gonna lose this match? I'd rather hit this guy than not to lose this match. So I was like, all right, perfect. Getting a whole lot of turns on the tag teams too, for sure. But in order to get this match, Street Profits had to be taken out. I mean, I know we'll get into that, or you can go into
Yeah.
that a little bit more, but makes sense for him. Hey, you take out the guys who actually got the shot, and you get the shot yourself. So makes sense for them.
Yeah. I don't really have this anywhere, and it's not a fault of them DIY or MCMG. It's what my Reggie is. One of my Reggies. It's what are we doing with the
Mhm.
Street Profits? Because I mean, as soon as like DIY, as soon as you saw or heard that the Street Profits got jumped and they were out, and then Nick Aldis was like walking around, and then all of a sudden it was like Johnny Gargano pops up like, "Hey, what? They're hurt." I don't want to sound like a dick, but man, hey, if you guys need somebody to fill in the tag team
The show
spot,
must go
DIY
on.
is right here. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay. And then the
The show must go
MCMG
on, right?
because the MCMG because they're fighting champs. Like, hey, he wants their title shot. They get their title shot. I'm like, what is the general manager here for? They're like, okay, if y'all want it, y'all get it, bro. Like, exert some authority. So Adam Pierce. I
I was about
Nick
to say,
Aldis.
this is I had that
Nick
thought
Aldis
too.
pulled. Nick Aldis pulled an Adam Pierce.
That's where I was thinking. I was like, yo, this is a very Reggie move on his part for sure. Where it's like, oh yeah, we don't know what happened to him. We just know that they're critically injured. And it's like, nigga, y'all ain't got security cameras on this bitch. Like people stay getting jumped, but it's fine, whatever. Because Jade got jumped too. But
yeah, and so I guess there is a little bit because I'm like, okay, is Johnny gonna turn? So it's a bit of a surprise, but not too surprising.
mhm.
I'm not too mad that they won the titles because I, like we said before, MCMG even winning the title so quickly was out of the ordinary. Is not typical of WWE to do, especially from a team that is like has no WWE legacy. It's
Exposure.
like,
Yeah.
it's like that's very atypical of WWE to do, and they did it. And so now MCMG, they have a tag team championship title reign under their belt. They've lost it. Seems
They're
like they might be
established,
going.
yeah.
They might be going the Braun Breaker route, where they'll probably pick it up back by Royal Rumble, maybe
For the second
Saturday
main
night's
event,
main
maybe.
event.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
second main event. Yeah.
I just don't know what we're doing with the Street Profits.
I feel you. And it is disheartening, like as you bring this up. And like I remember I actually chuckled like when I saw them like, beat up, because I was just like, yo, Montez is like seated, like he's folded up like an accordion. Like, cause he was just like seated, but like in a gap like between equipment. And I thought that was funny. But
You know what the next match was too after they got jumped?
what's that?
Bianca versus Piper Niven.
Piper.
And I'm like, oh, so Bianca, you could just leave the middle of a match when your friend gets jumped in the backstage area, and you actually leave the arena, get in the ambulance to go to the hospital with Jade, but your husband gets jumped. I got a match, girl.
Hey, now you're saying something. Yeah, exactly.
I got
He's
a
like, hey,
match.
that's man. She's like, hey,
I
that's
can't worry
man's
about you,
business.
boo. You
She's like, hey, that's man's
got
business.
you got B-Fab watching your back. Where is she at?
Yeah,
But no, outside of that, I was just like, what are we doing? Like,
yeah.
Street Profits spent like the last 3 weeks trying to show you a new attitude, this, that, and the third, just to get jumped by Tommaso. I love Tommaso Ciampa. Tommaso Ciampa took out both Montez Ford and Dawkins.
Mm.
That is a combined weight of 600 pounds.
Saying that much.
Montez is what, like 230?
230. They're probably
And
they're
Dawkins
500.
is what?
260.
Okay. So
260. Yeah, 270 at the most.
260. So about 490. So again, 500 pounds. So it's just like, bro, how does Tommaso Ciampa's 210 take out 600 pounds, 500 pounds of people? By himself.
A weapon. That's it. You got to jump in there. You get hit with a fire extinguisher in the back of the head. What the hell happened? Dawkins turns around. Pow. His lights is out too. But either way.
I'm just disappointed. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
But and I have another Reggie, which is in the same similar fashion. I'll just get my Reggie out the way.
Yeah.
The same way I asked, what are we doing with the Street Profits? What are we doing with Naomi? And this is nothing against Tiffany Stratton. Ain't nothing against Elektra Lopez. But we've talked about this since she came back in January. It's been now a year we're coming up on since Naomi's return. Nothing. Like, there's probably within both hands, we could probably count how many wins she's had the entire year. It's wild.
Absolutely.
Which is wild. And then the thing that really bothers me, it's like, why did Tiffany need this win? Like, she's gonna go against Micha next week, and then now we have on the other side, we have Bailey versus Chelsea Green. And so Tiffany has the Money in the Bank briefcase. Like,
she's already established. That's effectively a title belt. Like,
why? Like,
you know what I'm saying? That's
like,
as far as importance.
Like, what are we doing? Like, this is where it just feels like Triple H is really forcing people down our throats. Whether it be Lyra, whether it be DIY, whether it be Tiffany, it's like, we like them. You don't need to just continuously force them down our throats. Why couldn't Naomi get this win? I don't get it, but it is what, again, it has nothing to do with Tiffany. It has nothing to do with Elektra Lopez. It's more so creative of just like, why did you bring her back just to have her do even less than what she was doing before she left? If there's no character change that comes out of this, I'm just like, this is hella disappointing. So those are my two Reggies for SmackDown this week. Is what are we doing with Naomi? What are we doing with the Street Profits?
You ain't lying, brother. You ain't lying. Our mids, we both agree. I mean, we had a cross-brand main event where you got Chad Gable for some reason. Why the hell is he on SmackDown? But he comes up to Cody talking shit. Oh yeah, that's right. Hometown. That's right. He did say that. But either way, you know, you talk shit to a WWE champ in your hometown. This is only going one way, right? When exactly the way you'd think it would go. Him getting his head spiked on the mat with a crossroads. And then also like you said, Bianca, she takes her anger out on Piper Niven and gets the W over her. I did think maybe Chad. How much did the promo work for you from Chad's side when he was like poking at Cody about like KO and stuff?
I think it works. I think this Cody and Gable match, I put it on the same level as Carmelo and Cody. of the week before and how we got there.
Mhm.
And I just like it adds to the notion that obviously the outcome is never going to be in doubt in these matches. What I do like from this and where I would rank this as mid rising is the fact that the talk in the backstage is the talk is not just coming from Kevin. The talk
Yeah,
is coming from
exactly.
everyone in backstage.
Other
And
people are
honestly,
seeing it too. Yeah, other people are seeing
I
how
would
Cody's
say
acting.
Cody was more of the heel in this promo than Gable.
He was. He was indeed. That's the meat that I was trying to point at. That I was just like, yo, because they have no history effectively. Chad and Cody.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? They haven't even had an interaction. So you can outside looking in, you could be like, yo, Chad is just saying like how he feels and what he hears backstage
This is
too.
what the locker room
You
is
know what I'm
talking
saying?
about. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's just like, okay, here's another little nugget of Cody probably whispering N bombs back there. You know what I'm saying? Somebody's heard
Exactly.
it. Somebody's heard it. Uh,
Put it in the atmosphere, brother. Keep putting it in the
exactly.
atmosphere. It's coming.
Hey, I'm not. We ain't letting this die. We ain't letting this die. My favorite shake that I got down here is Carmelo getting a mystery opponent, like because he thinks he's like, yo, I'm the number
Oh
one
yeah.
draft pick, Nick. I'm the number one draft
Yeah,
pick.
we
You
didn't
you
even talk
gotta
about that. They talked about the transfer portal being open or the trade portal
yeah.
being open. So that's going to be interesting. I think that also leads into again, we'll get into this in our deadline predictions, but I think there's obviously some implications on what might happen what might happen in deadline based on this trade transfer portal. We'll call it transfer portal, trade
Yeah,
transfer
yeah, yeah.
portal being open right now. I thought that's an interesting aspect, but it makes sense with Raw moving over to Netflix and then apparently SmackDown getting a third hour. There's going to be need some roster reconstruction. So I don't have any predictions.
This is well, one of the rumors is Penta. What I would love to see Penta, but I'm like, would they debut him without his brother? Because Ray Phoenix is still under contract, Lucha Bros, and they were supposed to be already there. And
Hmm.
that's why MCMG gets signed. And I'm like, I mean, personally, Penta is like, I mean, there's not too many specific luchadors, I can think of, but like one of my favorite luchadors ever. And he has the charisma himself also. So I'm like, yo, if they debut Penta as a solo, that would be sick. And the only reason I bring that up is because I saw the post of like, now he's officially off of the non-compete and
Mm.
he's off of like AEW's roster page and stuff like that. So that got put out there. So I'm like, oh, maybe it's Penta L0. That would be
Another
fire.
person that could be is Trick.
Trick. Okay. Oh, yeah.
Because Lash is technically a SmackDown on her way to being a SmackDown superstar. They don't really split up couples like that. So it
Hmm.
would make them. It makes sense to go back to put him on SmackDown, keeping him on SmackDown with putting him in a feud right back with the guy that he came up with, and now has reached another level to where he left him off at. It's a nice thing to kind of pick up on.
Hmm.
But I generally don't really have any other thoughts because I can't. We'll get into the deadline aspect. I just don't know where Trick is at right now, especially with the neck injury. But we'll talk about that when we get into our predictions.
True. Because we
Um,
all know that, when you get drafted, like it's like automatic like HP recovery. It's like you level up. So you know what I mean? So if you have a
yeah.
broken neck on NXT, you can spawn back 100% on SmackDown the next week. That does actually
Again,
make
like
sense.
see that's
So
old
I'm just
WWE.
pointing
That's
that out.
old WWE. I think if you're leaning into more of like the sports element of it, I'll make a comparison for my Commanders. Right, trade deadline was like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. We traded for Marshawn Lattimore. Right, Marshawn Lattimore injured his hamstring
It was
when
injured,
he was with
yeah.
the Saints, right? He hasn't played a game with us since we've traded. He sat out Pittsburgh, he sat out Philly, he sat out Dallas, and he sat out Tennessee. We have a bye week. His first game back is hopefully next week against New Orleans at New Orleans. And so the point I'm making is we traded for a guy who's already had an injured hamstring for 2 weeks and then still sat out for 4 weeks and still has yet to play a game. If you're a GM, and you're worried about roster construction, wouldn't you make that long-term investment in a guy coming back from an injury, even if he
Yeah,
doesn't
sure.
immediately start, you know, after you get traded? It's like, all right, bro, like we'll be on the injury report and we'll gradually work you back in. That's what I'm saying. That's if you lean into the real sports, you know,
Aspect of it.
view of
Yeah.
the show. Yeah. So, Bloodline 2.0 pissed after WarGames lost.
Yeah, just them like literally at the start of the show walking in and like beating up security. Like, so that was
Yeah.
another Nick Aldis like L, where I'm like, yo, this is a as you would say, Adam Pierce run show, because like Bloodline 2.0, they show up and just beat the shit out of security as they like walk in the arena, and then raise more hell and just say anybody who's basically Souls like anybody who's like talking shit and we catch a whiff of anything, y'all getting it. That's basically what he says. He just pissed
Except
off
for
because he.
Shinsuke. Except for Shinsuke, which I loved how
Hey,
that
well,
played out.
yeah,
I love how that played. He was like, Shinsuke got in his little anime battle stance, and then he was like, let me start bleeding out my mouth.
yeah, he did like a rattlesnake, rattling. Basically, he let that goop start coming out. That mist started seeping out. He was like, "Nah, y'all, I'll shoot this motherfucker in a second." So,
I would love to see Shinsuke versus Jacob. There's a lot of Jacob matchups that I'm like, yo, Jacob Shinsuke
that'd be
would
sick.
Dope.
Yeah. And that's all I got from SmackDown. You already covered Tiffany and beating Naomi and Elektra. Yeah. So she moves on to the US tournament.
All right.
Alrighty.
Let's get on to the pop-up show for tonight. NXT Deadline predictions.
All right.
Match card of 5, and I think this is a really good matchup. This is a really good card. I think I might actually tune into this like live. Let's start off with the men's Iron Survivor match. Wes Lee, Javon Evans, Nathan Frazier, Ethan Page, Eddie Thorpe.
I feel like I'm super disconnected from this pay-per-view.
This is the weaker of the this is the weaker of the the Iron Survivor matches.
I'm gonna go Ethan Page.
You're disconnected. You're going Ethan Page?
Yeah. I feel disconnected from like I mean this pay-per-view cycle. Like, not that the stories aren't good, but like as far as like I'm not that in tune, where I think I might be missing nuance and some things. So I was just giving a disclaimer in case I lose, basically. That's what that was.
I could see that. This one is
I do feel like I'll explain. Sorry. I do feel like Ethan Page, this would be a tired pick, because I would think obviously you could make somebody else right here. The only other person that comes to my mind would be like Eddie Thorpe because of recent events. But I have Ethan Page here due to what I have happening later on in this show.
I want to lean I want to lead Ethan Page as well. My next pick would probably be Javon Evans. It's because, again, Javon, they give him a lot of these spots, especially with like the legends. Like, he had a match with Randy Orton. X-Pac was on the show, and he basically was like, yo, I dig your style, this, that, and the third. You have the blah, 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 this, that, blah, blah, blah. So it seems like, they wanted to definitely put over Javon Evans. Does he get a title match now? I don't. This is hard. Like, again, to your point, Ethan Page seems like the easiest one to pick, but I'm like, how many times are we going to have Ethan Page just continuously in the storylines for a championship? Like, at least being in a championship match, though he does have connections with, Ridge Holland in a sense. So it seems like they could easily get into a feud. I'm going to go unrealistic here. I'm going to go Javon Evans.
I don't think that's unrealistic, because you said my prediction already for future down the line. I mean, we don't have to do this completely in order, because I got Ridge Holland. So that's all that I was setting up. That next cycle would just be Ridge Holland versus Ethan Page. Now, it's something is like, is that too soon? That could be too soon, because an Iron Survivor match would favor the more scramble, chaotic setup for like a smaller guy. You know what I mean? But I'm just figuring that maybe they just go straight into it. So
I want to go Ridge Holland here, The only thing that hangs me up is because right now, if it's just Rich Holland versus Trick Williams, I see this match almost playing out the same way Shinsuke versus LA Knight played out at WarGames.
Yeah.
Where it's again like the thing that I said, what happened? Like even though it was recorded a week earlier, LA Knight took that missed in kayfabe the
Hmm.
night before,
Exactly.
and the effects showed during WarGames. This dude Trick is working with a injured neck, possibly. It says the match was to be determined, but then I think they said the match was going to happen. So Trick is coming off 4 days of an injured neck. On top of me possibly booking him going to SmackDown, I want to go Rich Holland. I think I'm going to go Rich Holland. I just worry that Andre Chase is going to come out and screw him.
Yeah, there you go.
But what does that mean for Ridge? I mean, what does that mean for Trick to win the title, retain the title? I guess does Trick retain the title, but being like, my neck injury was a bit more serious than what I anticipated, and I
And relinquish
aggravated
it.
it. I aggravated my neck injury in order to retain this, and then I just got drafted, so I got traded to NXT, to SmackDown, that I have to relinquish this title, and then we get into a tournament for the NXT
Hmm.
Championship. So those are kind of the two dilemmas that I'm kind of working with right now, and there's way too many tournaments. I'm just gonna have to go Rich Holland.
Yeah.
Like, I say all that just to be like, yeah, I can see either way working out. I can
Hmm.
see anyone. I can see Andre Chase costing Rich Holland. I could see Rich Holland winning it. I could see Trick Williams winning it and then having to relinquish the title. All three are equally weighted, in my opinion, as far as the chances of those happening.
Got you.
So, Underground, Lola Vice, Jada Parker.
Yeah, who you got first this time?
Going with Jada Parker. I think this is right now Lola Vice's match. This is her match type. That she's basically 1-0 after, beating Shayna Baszler the first time. Yeah, you'll get your first loss.
Hmm.
I think you'll get your first loss. I think the if you had to put the betting odds, the odds are in favor of Lola Vice because she's the more experienced one. She's the MMA fighter, but I do think the Jada Parker is a street fighter, in quotes. And
Hmm.
I think
He's a brawler.
this
Yeah.
yeah, this fits up into her alley that I think she'll pull this off. So I'll give it Jada Parker. But I also don't see this being the end, and they're probably gonna run this back. Maybe not underground, but maybe in something a little bit more. Have there ever been a women's last man standing match? Last woman standing match? Or if they
I'm
have,
sure
then I
there
haven't
has
seen one
been.
in a long time. But they seem like they would be a good candidate
This is where
for a
I'm.
last woman
This is
standing
where
match.
I'm going with it because didn't they have a PLE cycle match already? Didn't they have like an Extreme Rules match? Or maybe that it might have been
We
during the week. They had
I
an
think they
Extreme Rules match, and Jada
yeah, I
won that
think they did
match,
have yeah. I think so. Yeah.
which is why I agree also with the rubber match aspect of that. So if that's them the first time, Lola's winning this one
Okay.
because I do
Yeah,
believe in the
it's
rubber
honestly
match.
it's a toss up. It's genuinely a toss up on that match.
Yeah, I feel. Or never mind. I was just going to repeat myself. I feel disconnected with. I guess maybe I'm saying I feel disconnected with the confidence of my picks. Because
Yeah.
everything is so like I feel up in the air. And you have all these multi-man matches. The NXT Championship Max, we got Fraxium versus No Quarter Catch Crew.
I'm gonna go
Hmm.
no quarter. I think
We agree on something.
yeah, I think they I can see Nathan, Frazier, and Axiom making their way up onto the main roster.
Yeah. Yeah,
Especially
especially if
because,
you're doing.
Axiom was just in a contendership match for the Iron Survivor. So like, he's
Mhm.
not too far off from like, being in a singles run as well. So I think there is an opportunity for them to move up to the main card and no quarter cash crew. I mean, like as far as you talk about the totality of the group, they had the what's the joint that Tony D'Angelo has right now?
The Heritage Cup.
Yeah, the Heritage Cup and things of that nature. They've had storylines, they're doing things. They won the tournament, the Battle Royale and stuff like that. So it seems like a tag team championship reign would be kind of right in the trajectory of where their crew has been headed. So no quarter cash crew.
Yeah. And speaking of no quarter cash crew, this would be a shot in the dark. What if Ren Sinclair wins the women's Iron Survivor match? Because that would be a wild shot. But in this match, we got
that
Sol
would be the
Ruka.
biggest upset of 2024.
Yeah, I know. We got Sol Ruka, Ren Sinclair, Stephanie Baker, Zarya, and Julia. And this is where I think this is why it's so hard, because they've built all of these women so well. Like, granted, we were kind of annoyed with Julia and Stephanie, tagging together so much and all of these like faces versus heels kind of situations. But now we're getting everybody for themselves. So now it's take your pick. Like, we built all these women up. I really think this is a pick your flavor. Like, truly, because I could see it. None of these matches are bad coming out of this. Roxanne Perez versus any of these women.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Sol Ruka.
There we go.
I think we already call her Surfer Charlotte. But if I have to look at the contestants part of this match, you have Stephanie, Zarya, and Julia all literally just came in within the last 3 months. So Julia and Stephanie have been tagging together. It seems like those three are kind of, they could establish a new pivot for the women's division.
This is Giannis, Joel Embiid, and Jokic right here, like the international division. Yeah,
I can see a triple threat, storyline between those three, leaving Sol Ruka and Ren Sinclair one-on-one for Sol Ruka to get the win, especially because Sol Ruka is the longest tenured person in this match. She came back from a torn ACL, so her momentum was halted because of the injury. And then the fact that she's come back and still able to do it. So I go Sol Ruka.
I'm so disappointed because oh no, you too smart. You're too smart. that's literally what I was thinking. Well, obviously they just got there, but it's literally just the fact of like, everybody loves a soul snatcher and she hasn't got her title shot yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, she's been working it up and it's like, this is that time for her to at least get this shot up. And I didn't factor in like what you said as far as like the matches constructed, that like just those three get into it, like offset each other basically. I didn't think of it like that, but my ace in the hole is just like, they just got here. And I see those three like the comparison of Jokic, Embiid, and Giannis, like we got this, all the best players in the league are all international right now, and Luka. And this is the three international women. So I thought for sure he was going to go with one of the big ones.
If you had to pick between one of those three to win this match, though, who do you pick?
This bears no extra points. This is not a bonus point. I would pick. I would want to pick Zarya because I think that's where we have a very real, we know who Roxanne Perez is. Nobody can beat me, yada, yada. This bitch is out of your weight class. Like, you know what I'm saying? I can see Zarya throwing you for an F5 or 2. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that Pop Rocks necessarily ain't going to have that same umph with her. Like, not necessarily true, but I'm just going straight up, like, physicality wise, where Roxanne, we know, is the prodigy and is a great enough wrestler. That's her whole character. She's a great enough wrestler to overcome the odds, which is why she's a prodigy. But it's like, hey, I think Stephanie Baker has been booked as has shown to be the best technical wrestler of the group. But I think Zarya has, everybody says Brock Lesnar aura. So If you got Brock, like female Brock coming in there for Roxanne, there's no reason that she shouldn't get German suplexed around that ring a few times.
That would be an interesting match. That'd be a fun way to see Roxanne kind of just get like shell shocked like that, kind of a la John Cena. That'd be kind of interesting.
And Julie already had her shot, so she's out. Julie already had her shot, so my next one after that would be Stephanie for sure. Because remember, that was the first episode of NXT on CW.
Oh yeah. Well, again, that was the first episode, so.
Well, sure.
That was 2 months ago. Because I say that because if I had to pick between the three, I feel like I might lean Julia, but I also kind of lean towards Stephanie Vaquer because I think you make an interesting point with Julia already had her title shot. So Stephanie, I think that might have just given me the last bit of edge that I would give it to Stephanie. And I say Stephanie because I don't know how long Roxanne is going to be on NXT. But I do think from a money and marketing standpoint, it is worth having a Stephanie versus Roxanne.
Yeah. I think
at least match
that
up
would be
because
the best in-ring match. That's the best in-ring match in my opinion.
But you also get 2 Latino women to do that as well. And WWE loves to put the people of similar backgrounds in the storyline. So
and the only issue that I have because none of them have talked yet. I think they've been very sneaky with that. Like none of them have really said any. Like they have talked, but they haven't said anything of substance outside of like, I'm the next. You know what I mean? So they're all still very indistinct of each other as far as characters are concerned.
Yeah, but both of us are going with the black woman, Sol Ruka. Even though you can never tell that she's a black woman, but she is a black woman. Hey,
yeah, she like all my life I had to fight.
Hey, they put her on the Black History Month. They put her up on the as one of the people part of that were black in WWE. I'm like, I didn't know that. She's I think her dad's black, so half black, half white. So.
Yeah,
shout out to Sol Ruka. Hopefully, you win tonight.
To our diaspora sister.
Yeah, that's our predictions for NXT Deadline.
You just blew me off the page. You just blew me off the page with these predictions. I'm telling you. Bring that Javon Evans. I mean, come on now.
We got
Evans. Jada Parker is the correct answer. I mean, for real. Because she's way more over than Lola Vice. Like, if you just talk about straight up character wise, like she's the right answer. So, but I'm just favoring this rivalry where they're gonna go, like you said, like a woman's last man standing or something. Like it's got to have the final, rubber match. So, whatever that ends up being, I'll be watching.
Yeah, for sure. Let's wrap this show up with our champions of the week.
Yeah, you go first.
I didn't have one last week, so I'll take the first one. And mine is a pretty fun one. I'm gonna share the screen here just so we can have it on. I call this the South Side. Can I get extra mild sauce title belt to Jacob Fatu? So this was something I saw last night after SmackDown was over. Fans on the side, they'll shout and yell things to the wrestlers as they go back. Jacob and Solo were both walking back after the end of SmackDown, and this occurred.
You will never Solo! I acknowledge you, Solo! I acknowledge you! Shut up! You suck, Jacob!
Yes, if you didn't hear that, Jacob says to a fan that says, "You suck, Jacob." He walks up to that fan and says, "Yo, mama sucks dick," which immediately brought up one of my favorite scenes in our favorite show, Southside.
Love that show.
Where one of the guys is at Harold's, a famous Chicago chicken spot, and asks for extra mild sauce. And we'll see how that response played out for him.
Wait, how does my mother being a prostitute get me in the possession of more mild sauce? Okay, that is a great follow-up question. You are a very intelligent young man. Your mama sucked dick from our sauce, you weak ass nigga.
Oh man. So that is just a hilarious response to a fan. Is your mama sucked dick from my sauce.
Yeah. I
So
like that.
I
I
just
like
asked a
that.
great comedy for that one. So that was just one of my favorite moments. It was just, I as soon as I hear something like that, like that's forever gonna be lived into my mind. Whenever it says like your mama sucked dick, I'm like, yeah, your mama sucked dick from my sauce, nigga.
It's so funny, yeah. Man, what
Uh,
another hidden gem. Like people wasn't watching Community when that was on TV, and people wasn't watching Southside when I was watching Southside. I'm glad you picked up. Like I put you on because I was like, this shit is hilarious. Like I fucking love that show.
I
Oh
love
man,
sauce.
yeah. I took a page out of Jason Concepcion's book, from
Mm.
Six Trophies, obviously, and did like the whole long quote of a song for my champion of the week. You don't need to share the screen, but if you could just play the first 20 seconds of it, and after I'm done reading,
I
this
might
is
have to play a
the
little bit less than that just for copyright sake, but sure.
okay, okay. The first I think like 3 seconds, there's no audio,
Yeah.
and then she starts singing. But
Okay.
this is the beginning of the song. This is the Jesse Murph, baby, while you're at it, why don't you rip my heart out of my chest? Baby, while you're at it, why don't you take back every word you said? Title. To Kofi Kingston, because this had to be, this is how I felt. This is how Big E felt when Kofi joined Xavier and said, you broke your neck, so what? I was
So
restraining myself
what?
so much. Yo, that's so what? I was like, yo, you're crazy. You're crazy, Kofi. What are you talking about? Yeah,
I laughed so
man.
hard.
And then the way Xavier was sinister with it. He was like, E, dramatic pause. You left us. He like let us, he really let that go, like shit, set that chill up our spine with that. Like, you are not turning on. This is like turning on Tim. This is us turning on Tim. Like
Yeah.
the most golden hearted person out of everybody in the group. This is what we doing? Rip my heart out of my chest, yo. Yo, Kofi, what the fuck? Just joining him in that moment. Full heel New Day. Champions of the week. God damn it.
Yeah, it was a
Perfect
great
song
story.
sample too for this title.
Especially when after E was saying, "Oh, like I'll be back and I'll be your manager," and then Xavier is like, "Now?"
Now? Yep. Mm-hmm.
And did you see the online Twitter beef that was going on?
No, what happened?
Oh yeah, Big
They
E's
was
girl
tweeting
was
at each
getting.
other?
No, Big E's girl was tweeting back.
Oh,
She was like,
word.
"Oh, y'all so basically it was like y'all some bitch made. I'm glad
Yeah.
I didn't have to have y'all come over for Thanksgiving and have to cater to Kobe's pale ass vegan dietarian Xavier's childish appetite palette and stuff like that." And then
Right.
Xavier was like, "Oh, at least we didn't have to eat your dry ass food and shit like that, whatever, and this, that, and the third." She went back and was like, "At least Kofi, I don't have Kofi need to go to the gym and work on that bird's chest that he's got and everything like that."
Yeah.
So, there's some
Yeah.
there's some real back and forth going on. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
a great
That
segment.
was it ripped my heart out of my chest. And like I said, immediately, like I know it might just straight up be segment of the year, but that's also recency bias. We gotta like look at it whenever we get to the Slammies, if they do the Slammies again
I
for
mean, the
moment of the
segment of
year.
the year is
But
The Rock whipping Cody's ass.
this is a contender.
Out of buzz.
Because this is a contender over that, in my opinion. This is like, that's a great turn from The Rock, obviously, but the bigger moment is obviously him just completing the story. That's just part of the build. But either way, we out of here, right? You ain't got nothing else to say. We blew past that 2 hours, so we gotta get better at this.
Not everything needs to work out perfectly. And then I actually did the magic clip thing. It's all right. It gave me like one clip, and I was like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it wasn't the best, but it's easier to go in and still edit and come up with the clip. I have a clip from last week's episode, but I didn't share it. But nonetheless, we didn't go too far over, so 215 is not that bad. But Yeah, well, this is a good. I think anywhere between 2 hours, 2:15 is a good range. So we'll call it an episode here. We'll catch up next week for episode 23.
Yeah.
Anything?
Follow
Any
us on
last words?
socials. Yeah,
Yeah.
follow us on socials: Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky. Send us an email. Give us any type of correspondence you want. You know what I'm saying? What do you want to talk about up here? What's your favorite storyline right now? Emails at the Wrestling Reup on all platforms and at the Wrestling Reup at gmail.com.
Yep. And that will do it with for us. I'm Samson, the Habasha Hayes, my tag team partner.
French Fried Fro, Moody. We out of here.
And we out. Catch y'all next week. Peace.
Ooh, here we go. We got to get it in
Yeah,
camera.